know our farmers, our public servants, youth, and the ordinary Dominican. Listen to their stories. No limitations, no restrictions, no holds barred. In the Spotlight will also spotlight interesting topics, issues, and relevant situations. Don't miss In the Spotlight on Q95 FM radio every Monday night from 8 p.m. In the Spotlight.
One-on-one with interesting personalities, educational and informative topics and issues, intriguing and entertaining. A must listen to. In the Spotlight, Monday nights from 8 p.m. on Q95.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, good evening everyone. Welcome to the In the Spotlight radio show for today. It is the 3rd day of February in the year 2020. Wherever you are at this particular point in time, whether you're just logging into Facebook, trying to get to the Facebook Live, we're happy to have you. Ted, Sarah, good evening to you. One of the early birds tonight. Already leaving a very kind compliment here for my guest. Good evening to you, sir. And good evening to all those who will be joining us via Facebook Live. We're live on my page for now. I will share to the others shortly. But if you go to Ferdina, Frampton, you will find our live right there. If you're, well, I'm at my maximum of friends, and I always have to remind you of that, so you simply follow me and you should be able to see what's happening on my particular page. For those of you who are tuned in right on Q 95.1 FM, or if you're listening through one of the online mediums, we are happy to have you tonight. If you're far away somewhere, maybe somewhere in Europe, Gordon Henderson, are you tuned in? Maybe you're in the United States, somewhere in Canada, in the Middle East, maybe. Who knows? People can listen from anywhere in the world with this age of technology. Wherever you are, we are happy to have you. And we hope that you join us throughout the program till we end around the 10 o'clock tonight. Now, this particular guest here tonight, and it's not because he did that he's on the program. He is the one, in collaboration with the editor of the Sun newspaper, who named the In the Spotlight radio show as the best talk show hosts for 2019, and I'm very grateful to him for that. He'll tell us why, I guess, why he did that. But I do sincerely thank him for that. And as I said, it's not because of that he's sitting here tonight. We've had that conversation before about him being a guest on the program. It is 10 minutes past 8 o'clock. Again, thank you everyone for tuning into the program. Good evening, Sabina. There are some real huge fans of this show, and I appreciate you guys. You know yourselves, and I appreciate everyone who listens all the same. But there are some people who really give me the drive to continue doing this, and I appreciate each and every one of you. When I started reading the biography of my guest tonight, I was saying, really, we know our people, and I guess this is what this program is about. It's really uncovering all of those amazing things that our people do, what they continue to do, what they've done. And my guest tonight, I know him to be a Calypsonian. I've seen him sing Calypsonian. He has this particular rhythm that he has on stage that we're all very familiar with. So we know that. I know he has written a few songs for Calypsonians, a lot more than I think. I suspect there's a lot more than I think that he has written. I know he's a teacher, so he's an educator, and I know some of those things about him, but it seems there's quite a bit more to know about Ian Jacko Jackson. Jacko, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Can I call you Jacko?
Of course, everybody do.
It is an absolute pleasure to have you here tonight, and I want to welcome you to the program, give you the opportunity to say hi and hello to everyone.
Okay, I want to say hi and hello to everyone listening to Radio Land, of course. For the end of the program, I really respect that program. I know when persons come on that program is because they have made some contribution to Dominican, and I feel honored to be on the program myself. And I want to say hi to my family, and my family also in the United States. I have two brothers out there. A few others by my father's side, but those that are close to me, of course. Brown and Carl outside there, of course, my wife, Agafa, my daughter, Janet, who's now studying in Jamaica, and my son, Kiwani. I don't know where he's about right now, but he knows about the program, so I trust he's listening. My sister, Carla, and, all those persons listening, my friends at work, my colleagues at work, and, far and wide, musicians, artists, and people listening to this program. I just want to say thank you for listening, and of course, I trust we have a wonderful time tonight.
We are going to have a superb time tonight, Jacko, because there's so much to talk about. But of course, you're on this program this evening, and as I indicated before, and you can verify that we've spoken about you being on here, and this has nothing to do with the accolades that you've given to the program.
Oh no. I mean, you have spoken to me many times about being on that particular program.
Yes.
And I've been doing that for a number of years now.
Yes.
I've been writing the papers for like 30 years now.
Yes.
So it's nothing really new, basically.
In fact, you write under the headline Spotlight.
Spotlight also, yes. Spotlight. For 30 years, yes.
30 years.
30 years. I've written, well over...
You look 30 years, Jacko.
People say that, but I have been in this business for a long time of writing. And you mentioned about my writings. It started in the 70s when I was discovered in a particular strange way in that the Dominican grammar school which I attended, the Dominican Clarion, the school newspaper. You were a grammar school student yourself long after. And when I went to the grammar school, they gave us to write some article. And then my teacher told me, but that sounds more like a poem, the choice of words and so on. And then I found I unearthed a talent I had I did not know in writing poetry. And I was in the early 70s when I went to the grammar school, and I found that, went from strength to strength. I got into writing, and I became the editor of the new Clarion, the Clarion papers, the grammar school newspaper at the time. And from then the writing blossomed, and I joined the Writers Guild in 1981 with people like Olin Bully as my mentors, and so Anthony Lockhart and so on, these guys. And Arundel Thomas, I learned a lot from these guys during that time. And it just moved on from there. And from the 70s, I've been writing calypsos for many, many, many artists. I have checked to date, I've written well over close to 500 songs in my lifetime, for both juniors and seniors, and people in Christmas song in various forms. So I think I maybe share that accolade with Pat Aaron in Dominica as the two persons who have written the most songs probably in Dominica.
This is incredible.
So that's been a long journey.
It has been, and we'll talk some more about it. Someone thinks that you have a broadcast voice.
Well, I do some broadcasting. I just came from another program,
yes,
basically, and where I was hosting. I'm a host on a program called Rhythm and Rhyme, you know, and I left that program to come across here. So, thank you.
I appreciate it. Yeah. We were talking about why is it, Jacko, that you decided to name this program the best talk show or the best radio show for 2019?
Oh, because well, the program basically it has a difference from what obtains. You know, of late, for over the past 10 years, Dominica has really been bombarded with political commentary. Most of the programs are leaning towards that side. And even though sometimes you say a program is a sports program, people still say it has political connotations. And we still hear them. And what I find is that your program, you know, with one or two other programs they can come to, but your program goes really in depth. And I also think that you have a length of time where you can explore and understand people. You know, you have caused people to cry, you have caused people to laugh, and I think that is really deep, you know. And you choose such varied topics, and the individuals you have actually sourced out to have the program. And the questions you ask, Ferdina, you're a veteran in your business, you know your stuff, and the questions you ask evoke that kind of sentiment from people. And I've been listening to your program when I'm at home. After I do my programs on Saturday, I don't really go. I'm not an out person, except when it comes to the arts. I'm out when it comes to the arts. But I'm not a guy who parties. So when I go home after my program, 8 o'clock, my radio is on, and I listen to you. I listen to the various persons that you bring, you know, on your program, and I said, wow. When I searched, looking for a talk show, and I'm getting political commentary here, there, and there. I said, but for Ferdina program, it's not the first time, maybe first time you noticed it, but I think that's the only third time you're thinking, just like Triple K, you know.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's the first time people notice it. The best every year I have the best of the best, which happens in December, of course. So I come on the best vocalist for the year, because I think there's a need for that. Indeed. Nobody does that. Indeed. Nobody gives people the accolades, you know, when we die, we all sorts of things. So I don't have money to give, but as an artist, person writing in the arts every week, I think I'm best positioned to really recognize what is happening in the arts, and be it in entertainment, be it in terms of being your DJ or whatever it is, in cuisine and poetry and so forth. And I bring all those people in my program, and I make my own assessment, and I tell Mr. James as he has a lot of confidence in me over the years, and he respects my opinion, and like I always say in my program, I think it is my you know, take, and not necessarily everybody's. And it so happens that I find a great percentage of people believe in what I do. So it's a good thing I think I'm doing, and I think your program is that type of program. So long before I said that thing, you had asked me to be a program, so as you said, it's not because I give that accolade. Yes.
Thank you, Ian, and I really do appreciate it coming from someone like you, who I'm really excited to learn so much more about. But before we continue, since you also host a program on another radio station, I want you to tell us more about that program that you host and what you do with that program.
Yeah, well, Rhythm and Rhyme is now 3 years old. I think more than one radio station sourced me out to do something on arts and culture, because people know, I think people see me see me as the Lennox Honey Church of arts and culture. Because people view me as somebody who know a lot about, especially when it comes to calypso and music and sound, be it kadas, be it bouillon music or whatever. I have a history in my head about what has happened and what obtained throughout the past years. And even at school, sometimes children are assigned to me from convent and other schools, come to me to talk. Once Ian Jackson asked me about so. So I recognize, well, there's a need for that. And which also have been producing a magazine. I produced a magazine for the Calypso Association called Lyrics and Melodies, speaking about the arts, giving the whole list of kings and queens. Because people used to come and call me at home all hours of the night and say, oh, Jackson, my child doing a project there. Who was the king in 19 that and 19 this? So I say, okay, well, why not bring out a magazine? So I refer them right now to the magazine, and the photo office in the library and can be found. I still have some copies available. I give people now and then, because
I don't think I have a copy, Ian. I need one.
Most of the broadcasters on the air, when they go to the Calypso shows, they have a copy. Like Stephen D read something on the program they normally have on DBS radio, you know, and reading from the magazine. So I think that the program have Rhythm and Rhyme. I said, but everybody who's speaking on programs, when they talk about an artist, they bring people to speak about the artists people see on stage. What about people at the back of the stage?
Yes.
So what about the Steve Hyacinth?
That's
that
right.
is the director, you don't see him on stage. Let's get in his mind. You know, let's get into guys' poets. People win poetry competitions every day in the national poetry competition. Let's get into their minds. Why did they write that poem? What is that poem about? People produce wines, people produce different things. Paintings. Carla Amo Hutchinson produced her paintings. I went to see it at the Old Mill.
I did
and
too.
I looked at it. It was visual stuff. And so happened that I did a course in Jamaica which helped me to be able to explain and, you know, actually look at paintings and actually, you know, digress what the author is trying to say, what the painter is trying to say, and I use that skill and I implement it. And I try to go to all or as many as those things as possible. And over time, bands like WCK and a few other artists recognize what I'm doing. So when they bring out the album, even before it's released, they come to me and they tell me, that is your copy. Just want to do a preview.
Right.
So some people are understanding what I am doing. Because really and truly for them, I used to be paying for all those things, you know. I used to pay to promote guys, you know. I used to be paying to promote. And that's that there was a need for that. And thus far, I mean, maybe beside, I think there's one individual, but I think right now I'm the longest serving columnist in Dominican. I've been doing that for 30 something years. And then only started the Sun. I've been the Sun from the inception, but it started the Chronicle. It went on to other newspapers. I think there was a Drum a certain time and so forth, and I was doing it. So I kept on doing it. So it's well over 30 years I have been doing columns every week without fail. You know, and something that goes under the radar, but I'm doing it because I love it and I think there's a need to do it. We need to expose our people, and I'm happy to see that people are reading the stuff. So my people meet me on the road, especially older people. I love when older people tell me, Jackson, you're doing a good thing. I feel good about it because I feel I'm making a contribution. And yeah, so that's basically it. So I bring all those persons on my program to speak. Tonight I have the Junior Monarchs, and I was featuring some steel band from Trinidad, you know, and I'm speaking about it, and I bring people on to speak about the program. Last week I had Sour, apart from that, speaking about his song and so on. And I try to feature persons in the know. When persons come to Dominica, like guys like Fred Nicholas, like Alex Tyler of the Exile was here for so many years. I mean, he has played music for so many years, based in Hong Kong, and he's doing so much good work. Nobody never knew that.
Is he a drummer?
Drummer, yes.
Somebody told me, somebody told me I need to bring him on.
One of the best
but I
in the
don't
world.
know who the person is, but I guess I will get
Marcelo
to
Larroque's brother.
I see.
Or queen, or one of our biggest queens, yes. And he's one of the best drummers to my mind in the world, and nobody knows that. And basically, he was here. I think he's still here.
I was told he's still here. I was told he's still here. So
each time he's taking a break from music. He has been there for so many years, non-stop. And he has played from some big rock bands, Sheena Easton and all kind of persons like that, you know. Rob Shoulders with Buddy Miles and the great names of the world.
Yes.
And he's Dominican.
I need him. I'll bring him on. Somebody mentioned him to me just
well,
over the
I
weekend.
can always put him on to you.
Please
no
do,
problem.
Ian. Please do. And I know that is what you're about, getting exposure for all of these artists and musicians and so on. So somebody just said they want, Ian, how many copies do you have to spare? Because you were wrong to say you have a few.
Yeah, there are a few magazines.
Lyrics and Melody.
Maybe, maybe around 30 something copies.
You need to give me two. Somebody just asked for one here and one for myself.
No problem.
Yes,
no problem.
in fact, when the executive were here of the association, three of them were here with me. They actually had their magazine.
Oh, they had one.
Narin had one.
Yes, I did Narin one.
Making some reference to it.
Right,
so
right.
I guess it's really good material.
Yes, it's good material, I think.
And good reference material as well.
Certainly.
Good stuff. Ian, let us get to know Ian now, because I know you, Ian, as Ian Jago Jackson.
Yeah.
I don't even know where you live. I think I know where you live. I don't think I know where you're from. Let's stop. Let's get to know you a bit, Ian. Yes, well.
I grew up in Goodwill.
Murphy's
Murphy's Lane. I mean, my parents, my mother and my granny from Wesley.
Okay.
You know, from the north of the country, they're into the cocoa stuff, you know. I more understand it than speaking because when at home they had this cocoa. But except when I go up for holidays and so on, you know, I sort of mesh with the people and so on. But basically it was Murphy's Lane. I was actually born there, and then when I was around 2-3 years, my granny and them they built a house in Solomon Lane, which is just adjoining Murphy's Lane. So I'm really a good man, totally. So I played for guys like Saints and Spartans, you know, in my early days.
Played what?
Football, yeah, man. I was a good footballer, you know. A lot of skills. Those guys know me anytime they can call in and say that, yeah, Jack, what other skills, you know. I never went on to play national side.
I would never say.
No, you never say that. You never say that. And my boys at school I teach right now say, So you used to play football.
So you used to play
joking,
football.
man. You know, so I accept that. You know, different times, different era. But yes, I was quite a footballer in my time. My brothers, Carl and Brian, took it more seriously, and they went on to play for the national side. I was called for national trials in terms of the junior, the under 19, you know, and so on. I think it was 79, but that year had hurricane and so on, and things didn't really, you know, come to fruition. But I played with a number of guys, you know, all the Foxes, all the you know, Michael George of Harlem, and so I played with all these guys. I played with your brother also, I told you, off mic, and so, you know, so we had a TK and all these guys. We played football together, all these guys. But I had another love, and that love was music. Now, like I said, I went to grammar school from 73, 74, 72, 79. Hurricane year was the year of our results, and results I remember came very late because of the hurricane. So results came maybe following year around January we got results.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, because hurricane messed up.
That's the first time somebody gave me that story.
Yeah, 1979 we did not get our results, you know. Results came pretty late.
So you had to wait like forever.
Yes, for results, for exam, because everything was, you know, haywire and so on. I had some good friends who left Dominica. I can hardly find a friend who went to school together with me in Dominica right now. Yeah, on island. There's a great exodus of people who left Dominica in 1979. Young people who left because they saw there's no hope or anything, you know. I was one of those who stayed back, you know, and went for the grinds. First of 4 children, 3 boys, 1 girl, and not getting that father support as is known in Dominica and all around the world, Caribbean and so. But I had a name to live up for because my father was, there's always complimented by people that, boy, your father's a great calypso, you know, one of the best auxiliaries, would always tell me, oh, boy, your father was one of the best I ever saw. My father's the first cricket king in Dominica, the idol. He won the crown in 63, 64, 65. And I think Bricker won it in 1966. But my father also came from St. Vincent, so I have a big family in St. Vincent. So the Jacksons.
You see, I didn't know that.
My Jacksons are unique to myself. I'm not related to any Jacksons in Dominica except my children.
Is that so?
Yeah, because my Jacksons have a big family in St. Vincent, the Jacksons and the Ross.
And not linked to Dominica,
Not linked to
Jacksons in Dominica.
No, they're not linked at all. And my father and all the family in Jackson, and that's where we got the talent from. All of them are involved either in music and arts. One just died a couple of years ago, Pat Ralph, who I used to write for, Calypsos for in St. Vincent. I don't even write Calypsos for persons here in Dominica, but also overseas also. And she died, you know, and she was a very good singer. And, you know, I have 1 or 2 other persons who are involved in the arts in St. Vincent. When I go over there, I'm welcomed and I feel at home there. So that's a second home for me, St. Vincent.
I was about to ask you about your connection and your link.
Very, very, very close. And I only found out after my father died that although my mother had 4 children and I'm the first, my father had 6 children. I thought it was 2. I thought it was just me and a girl in Dominica. But upon his death, or when he is actually real sick and going down from cancer, I found out 4 others surfaced.
In Dominica?
No, in Dominica. Well, 2 was born in Dominica, in Granby. And they were left at a very early age. And they now reside in Canada.
Okay.
You know? So we became very close after that. At least one of them became close to one of them. He came down and spent some time with his wife here in Dominica. And well, Margot is another one. That's the sister I knew of by my father. You know, we didn't grow up together, but I knew of her and we used to speak. So she went to Western High School. And then I found out later on that I had another sister in St. Vincent, you know, which I did not know of. And she subsequently died last year, by the way. She was the youngest. And I have another brother in Canada also, and there's another one in the States. So basically, I think there are 4 boys and 2 girls. I haven't met one of the girls yet.
No.
I haven't met one of the girls yet. I know of her, but I haven't met her. She's in Canada, but we never really met physically.
Wow, Ian,
yes.
you need to make this needs to happen.
We never met physically. I know of her, she's Sylvie, or Sylvia, but we never personally met. Lisa is her aunt, Lisa. We never really met. We spoke on the phone. But now the classic about this father of mine is that when I was going to grammar school, when I was going to grammar school, I was always taunted by some children that, oh, you have brother and sister in Granby. And my mother used to tell me, but she here has some brothers and sisters in Granby. But I never knew. So here are the classes how I get to unearth that now. But one day my father was sick in St. Vincent because he had lived all his life in Canada. After he won the crown, he got a trip. He went to Canada, he lived all his life in Canada, he got married to a woman in Canada, Dominican from Dudan, got married to her and so on. And then somebody's calling me on the phone, big man, you know, because my father just died one day after Alan John Baptist, who used to play my group Phase 5.
Okay.
That's 13 years ago, 13, 14 years ago he died. And I'm getting a call saying, now, hey, is this Ian? And for an accent, I say, yes, who is that? And, you know, I'm so and so and so. And, I don't know who is that. So she said, no. Well, you know, you have two brothers. You have a brother and sister in Canada. So I started talking, and then it all came back to me that, yes, when I was growing up, I was told that I had a brother and sister in Granby. But my mother was a crucial lady, yeah? I would never see those brothers. No, in those times, yeah? It was different for Ferdina. My mother never made me know about those brothers and brother or sister, never found out or whatever about that, you know? And anyway, so when you started speaking, she started unraveling that she got some dream. Whether it was a dream or not, I don't know, that my father was not well. That was very strange. That was his ex-girlfriend. And I called St. Vincent immediately to find out an aunt of mine who I'm in contact with, and Rosalie, called and said, well, what's happening? I heard my dad is not well and so on. And then I said, yes, Ian, you know, this and that and that and that. He's complaining about his throat, it seems that it's cancer.
Oh, wow.
But then my father, in his own naive mind, I went up there once previously, 2 years before he got the cancer. And he cried, he felt guilty. I said, but Dad, I don't want anything from you. It's not you. I just couldn't come to check you. I mean, I'm a big man now, you know, as a big man. And so I don't want anything from you. I just came to see you, you know. And I'm not the kind of person because he never checked me, I wouldn't check him, you know. I know he's my dad. I went to see him. I actually sought him out in St. Vincent. And I went to him and he just burst down in tears and started crying. I said, no man, Daddy, man, don't check that now. Big man now. He just started saying about, oh, you have that for me and whatever. I said, no man. I said, if you have anything, you have grandchildren, you have two children, give it to them. Don't worry about me, okay. And, you know, things are cool and so. I tell him, play the guitar for me. I try to get involved in things. I know he's involved in Calypso. And I try to flash that out and so on. And, you know, he came back home. But then subsequently, I heard he was ill with that cancer thing. But in his naive mind, he thought probably he had a house. Still has a house in St. Vincent. And downstairs was renting. Upstairs was renting, sorry. He stayed downstairs, upstairs was renting for a car rental business or whatever. And so being, at that all that time, I thought I was the only child boy. You know, I thought it was me and my sister. Subsequently, I got to find out that I have a sister, another sister in St. Vincent. And here he introduced me to the sister, you know. We were walking on the street in St. Vincent one day. And he told me how, he said, you bring me somewhere. I thought I was a very secretive man. He said, you bring me somewhere. So he bring me, I walk, I say, I go there. He stayed on the street and he pointed to a house. I see a lady in the yard for a girl. And he said, well, look that one in his Vinci accent. So, look that one there, that one there. They say it's my child. What me go do? They say it's my child. When I'm watching the girl there, I find she really like me. He said, it's my child. What me go do? You always like to say, what me go do? Everyone is what me go do. So I said, well, and apparently he was not on good terms with the mother in St. Vincent, so he couldn't venture in the yard.
Okay.
You know, because apparently he never really supported that child, or you know, he never claimed the child or whatever. But there I made acquaintance with the young lady at that time, you know, and so on. And I think my father detested also fat people. She was very, very big for her age. And he always, even when I was doing as a chubby little boy, and he used to tell me about my weight. Remember, there was a kind of fickish lady too. There was weight, and my family seemed into that small and slimness and body.
On that side,
yeah, no, my father, yeah. So they didn't have a very good relationship.
Oh, that's sad though, that he had that kind of...
I don't know, he has always about that. He always talk about weight and size. Because I find all my family on that side is very small, you know? But I like big people. So after that, you know, I went home and so on, big acquaintance. And then he thought he knew he had the cancer, but he didn't realize it was that far gone.
Okay.
So my thinking is that Auntie Rosalie told me that he was thinking, he went to make his will. Actually, he went to make his will. Now, the lady he was married to in Canada, he had left Canada, things were not going well, and they had a strange relationship for 24 years. So he had left and come down to and built his house in St. Vincent, leaving the lady up there in Canada. So when he built that house now, and he got the cancer situation, he's telling the lawyer he went to make the will of that. He's writing on the will now, and he will come back and sign it. The lawyer, I think Mr. Peterson told him, oh no, sign the will now.
He'll come back.
He said he'll come back. They think he's feeling okay.
Yeah.
You know, he never came back.
We'll never
He
sign.
died. He died with a will written, unsigned.
Oh wow.
And here comes
trouble.
Wife from Canada and take over everything. Yes, very dangerous situation.
24 years.
24 years.
estranged.
They have never spoken. They don't talk, they don't deal with each other. And he told me he brought the wife to school, sent the wife to school and did everything for the wife. Because she was a much younger person than him. So he was sailing on a boat, making some money, and he met her, and she was going to university, and he sort of school and so on. And whatever happened, I don't know. And when she came, she closed down the whole Vincent man and everything. And she was there at the funeral, and Harley wanted to speak to me. Maybe she realized that as the first, and maybe she thought I came to claim what my father had and so forth. And I was never that kind of a person, and so on. She closed down everything. And from there, I made a conscious decision in my mind that I'm not going to direct my father. Although 13 years, I was 13 years younger, that I said if I close my eyes now, I'm going to make my will.
Yes, yes,
I'm going to make my will because the way I saw that lady treat and dealt with him. And although one time I spoke to her son, which he has a lot of control over, that's my brother, I spoke to him and I told him, well, you know, so and so, let's try and do this and that and try and get everything. Because when you die interstate, I understand that everything basically goes to the wife. Half goes to the wife and the other half is shared among the 6 children. But if nobody claims up and no will said, like the wife has everything, so
right.
she locked up and she had full control. Probably now she's getting rent from the...
So you all
never got anything up to now. And nobody never really tried to get anything
just
from
leave
it.
it
Just
alone.
leave it alone, of
Just
course. We didn't really, we leave it alone. So in growing up, so we always, I grew up, your grandmother was very...
Before you get to your grandma, you said your dad is Vinci.
Yeah, it's Vinci.
How did he come about to meet your mother?
Okay, yeah, well, at 18 years, he came to Dominica.
I see.
Followed by Viola Miller. That is Jennifer Miller, that is the doctor now, Mr. Doctor's. Mr. Doctor's wife is actually my first cousin.
Okay.
She's a cousin of mine.
Okay.
So she came over with my aunt, and my aunt was a real big aunt. She was the eldest by far. Somehow, my father, he was a mechanic. He was unemployed in St. Vincent. He came over with her, and he settled in Dominica. And he served as a mechanic, and he also one of the best pan players, double second pan players in Dominica. He came to play the pan. And then popular, doing his stuff, and so started singing his calypso and so on, and gravitated, and I guess that caught my mother's attention.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history, and that's what happened basically. That's how we came to Dominica.
Okay, but tell me now about your mom though.
Oh yeah, my mom was a no nonsense lady, People hearing my voice would know my mom was a mother and plus a father in one, because I grew up without any father. And in today's world, if I saw my mom, would probably even was leaning on being abusive. She used to beat us real bad if we do something out of the way, And so certain things, when I look back at it, it was good, and still at the time it was bad because, for instance, when you do certain things, my mother taught us to be very independent. I never forgot I got a serious bit in Ferdina, which I never forgot, for bringing some kite paper at my home that my mother did not pay for, My mother asked me, who gave me those kite paper? That time making kites was a big thing. But because anytime she doesn't buy something and you bring it at home, she said she don't do anything there, that's a very serious thing. That's a very serious thing for her. She was very, crucial on those things, and she could beat us real bad sometimes about those things, blisters on our back and so forth. My other brother, I was more timid, and my second brother, he is the more, rebellious type, so he jump the window or run away. But I know when I come to sleep, I want to sleep. I just stay and take my little blows, and I just go into my bed, that kind of a way.
My father used to have a strap. It was called John Rum. Thank goodness I never really experienced it, thank God. But did she have a particular strap or whip that she used?
Anything, my mother had a temper. Anything that got in the way. Anything that, if it's a pots that there at the time, brown, anything that in your way at the time. She didn't used to go and get a particular strap. If it's a pot, if it's a stick she see on the ground at the time, a broom, whatever it was, you get in it one time. She was very, very strict on that. But after I reached around grammar school age, around third form, first form, second form, I was still in a lot of control with my mother. When I reached around third form, and so I started getting a little leeway to go to parties, school parties, thing. And then I had a sister coming up on the way, Carla, which maybe is now listening now, and so on. And as a protector, I even helped to name her. So it was Ian, Brian, Carla, and Carla. The four of us, Ian, Brian, Carla, and Carla. Yeah. And that sister, very nice up to today. She has taken almost the role of my mother because anytime I have a problem as big as I am, I go to her. about a particular matter, you know. So she has been, and my mother was a very flamboyant person, very talkative, very, very talkative. And because I never used to talk much, she used to tell people like, you will see me underneath, you know. I was underneath because I never used to talk much. I was very quiet, and I suspect in growing up I realized on my father's side we were very quiet.
Okay.
Apart from my arts and my music, for then if I was not in that, you might not know Ian Jackson exists because I'm very introverted when it comes to a number of things, you know. And so, but he's a deaf that really was amazing because I always, in my whole life, always view my mother as someone who had come to the hospital every time to come and see. There was one great trait my mother had, I could tell you. My mother cared for, I think I took that from my mother. She cared for people big time. My mother, no matter how she is, no matter what problem she has with you, she never kept her malice. You know, and she would have a last $5, she'd give it to you. When she died, the amount of crazy, mad, and people I never knew that came to her funeral and gave me stories about how Jacqueline held them that. My mother's good, she made her duty every Sunday after church. You have to go to, whether you like it or not, you have to go to her mother to visit all sick people. You know?
Oh, she used to go see people?
Yes, man, you have to go and see sick people in the hospital before we go home. Come, let's go to the hospital. You have to go and see mad this, mad that. You know people. Boy, I'm telling you, you know those people. We have to go and see people in the hospital. She'd bring lunch for them, go and bring lunch for that person, or people give her clothes to go and wash. She used to wash it, make us go and bring it up. And that's nothing. She was that kind of person. She had a nice heart when it comes to those things. And she couldn't see injustice. She could not see injustice, you know. She used to take in front for people, you know. Like there's people that have got problems in life with their friends. You go about, she come and tell you that a boss man do that or somebody do that. I'm not thinking about personal case, but how you can do that now? No, I have to speak to him. She have to go and talk to him, you know. So she's that kind of individual. So in that level, I always feel passionate about people. I concerned about people, and I have that giving thing. I think my sister has it too. My sister just gives things, you know. If you have two of something, she has no problem just giving you the other one, just like. I think I also have that thing. I've met people on the road too, and when they ask for money, I hardly hesitate if I have it. Even though someone knows, I already buy it for you. I've already gone to restaurants and buy things for people, and people tell me, oh, Jackson, who you buy that for? And I say so and so. And they tell me, oh, Mr. So and so. I never knew. I say, well, that's on their conscience. That's not on me. Yes. I don't know about the guy. He say you're hungry. I don't know, not hungry for you. I have the money. I buy my sandwich. I buy my juice, my Foxy or whatever. I say that's cool, and I move about my business. You know?
Yes, I do that too.
Yeah.
But I'll give you a joke. One time I remember at Mousehole, one guy came and he asked me to buy him. He asked me to buy him a bake. Right. I bought him 2 bakes. I gave it to him. When I reached outside, he asked me, where's my juice? Where's the juice?
You're very bold too, I tell you. Yes. So, as I said about my mother's death, it really hurt me in a way because I always saw her as a very flamboyant person. And I always, my vision of my mother, I also occupied my mind. Was she full figure? Yes, full figure, yes. I always occupied my mind with, somehow I always think of death. I always aware of death, you know, and or you know, that we can go at any time. You know, I never take life for granted. But it so happened when I went with my group Phase 5, 21 years ago she died now, I went with my group Phase 5 to play in Guadeloupe. And my mother used to be running a little business at home, little babysitting and so for people and so on, you know. And I brought some chairs in good heart to boy. I just started building my house, my home. It didn't complete. She never knew come there, never gave me a glass of water. It really hurt me. And when I came home, I came on the ferry, and we all came and I come on board the church, but she was so happy. I reached around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you know. And I did not go by my home to sleep. There was no lights there, right? No one else to go there and sleep, you know, just to be around. I did not have lights and so forth. It wasn't totally complete, but I still used to go there and sleep in Canefield. And then when I reached, I slept in a little shack in the yard by my mother's home when I was born. And then later in the night, my sisters couldn't tell me something wrong with mommy. The same day I come from Guadeloupe, you know. I just met my mother gasping for breath.
You met her?
Yes, but I slept with her. I slept in the yard. I had a little shack in the yard at her home, and just gasping for breath, and so on. And then
did you do?
No, I held her. She was a big lady. I held her, and I called another guy who had a bus, Cecil. Cecil's listening. I called Cecil. I said, Cecil, boy, so mom to mommy, and mommy couldn't breathe, and her eyes turned around, whatever.
That must have been scary.
Yeah, man, very scary. And she has a hypertensive. Oh. I'm also hypertensive, so I think also it's a family trait. And I brought her to the hospital. When I brought her, I stayed around 20 minutes. Doctor told me to stay outside in the casualty. And after 20 minutes passed, she just came out, and one word he just said to me, I know she was there. He just said, oh, you are a son. That was 3 deadly words. The way he said, man, like the whole building just shook. The way he said, Timo, are you a son? And from the time he said that,
you knew.
I just knew that was it. He wasn't going to give any good news. I just went outside on that tree outside, it was still there, and I just stayed there and I just started bawling, I just started crying, I never up to today looked at my mother again. I only know my mother alive.
Not in the
never
coffin.
looked at my mother. I can't remember, I never looked at her. I never looked at her. When people were filing past and watching when you had the coffin open, I never went anywhere
for the viewing.
No, I never went for the viewing. I never saw my mother there. I was just told she was there. I never saw her there.
Wow.
I chose not to. I didn't want to see her there. You know, I chose not to see her there. You know, and so my recollection, I don't have any vision of my mother's face being there. You know, I always see her alive.
But you do go back to that day though, when
you held her. It lasted for a little while. I mean, people used to meet you and say, "Oh, you're brave, but you're strong," or whatever. But I know I wasn't strong. I used to cry a lot in the night. My granny too. My granny had a big influence on my life than my mother. Because my mother was very strict. She wasn't the best, but that was her way.
But let me ask you though, before you move to your grandmother, but did you understand though at one point in your life, you know, I don't know at what point or at what age, that your mother only wanted the best for you or by what she did?
Yes, I understood it, but it was sort of kind of pretty late because I had friends, not many of them, but I had friends who saw things differently and I couldn't understand why she was taking that slant. You know, I don't know if it's because of her own insecurity in her life. And so on.
And there was no father though.
There was no father,
there was no father. So it's almost like she was forced to play both roles.
Yes. So basically, it took a little while for me to understand that aspect about my mother. But in terms of my grandmother now, was a foundation, I think, of all of us lives in that she was a nurse.
Maternal grandmother.
Maternal, yes. And she was the one who actually galvanized us. And when we had problems, you could come to her. She was more settled and less erratic than my mother. She would deal with certain issues, you know, in a really mature way. And she gave me my Christian upbringing, my faith, my spirituality. She was the one we held on to when things went wrong and so on. And this woman is just something else. I'm pleased for that. Sometime I hope when this hospital is finished, that's something we named after her. She was Nurse Evelyn Wilson.
She was a nurse.
Nurse Evelyn Wilson. And she was a nurse for the entire rural area. Anytime you are sick, you call Nurse Wilson, you know, and that was my granny. You call her from anywhere. She was sick and she still came out to tend to the sick. You know, in her latter years, she was sick and she came out to tend to the sick, and she spent a lot of time as the head of the department at the operating theatre in the hospital. And I think she's deserving. She served during the time of Matron Dorival and Sister Sarah and Keynes and so forth. Those veterans, that was when nurses were really nurses. I mean, we really have good nurses now, but you know how it was. It was different. The nurses before were really maternal persons, and they really put out their heart and soul. She also worked in Portsmouth. This lady is just an exceptional lady. And if there's nobody in heaven, she has to be in heaven, you know, and I really think, you know. So my granny set that basis for me, and even almost as a big man, I sometimes dream of her. So she appears in my vision and my dreams about certain things and so on. And she has been a real foundation in my life, you know. So, you know, that has been, and they died very quickly after each other. My granny died first, and within a year and a half, my mother passed. So, but that's already a big guy. My only regret, as I said, I never completed my home where I could come in and have a glass of water, take a seat or whatever thing. So, and they never saw. Yes, and they both saw my They both saw my grandchild, my boy, Kimani, who is now 30 years. So they saw him as a little boy, but never saw Johnny. I can tell Johnny about them. You know, so yeah, so that's.
They have good memories.
Yeah, man, wonderful memories of both of them. My mother's a freak too. Very freaky lady. She will make you laugh. Oh, they tell you what Jacqueline will just make you laugh and laugh and laugh. My mother always has some kind of a stories. Always make you laugh. She just had a side of her that you don't mess around with her. You don't mess around with her. She had that side of her. No matter who you are, you can be the Prime Minister. My mother would walk up to you and see what she had to say to you. You know, she didn't mince her words at all. And so she's a very, I think also education has to do with that too. I'm like that too. I'm very forthright. I tell you as I think about something is. You might not like it, but I say, look, you did that to me, I didn't like that, and so on. So you should not have done that, or whatever. I don't want to talk to behind your back. My children are like that too. So I think we have that like a trait from her.
Okay.
But the caring aspect is what I always remember about my mother for. Because when she died, there was a lady I can remember particularly from Granby. Every week for a whole year, all you could do is to say thanks to my mother is to bring a mat, you know. She used to swing mats, make mats and so. And every time she come home to sell a mat, we just give neighbors mat. We can't bring a mat.
Because
we have so many mats. We just give neighbors, you know, that's just so love my mother. Because my mother cared for her at one time. And some mad people all now so that meet me, you know, older people and who have passed on. This is when Jacqueline Moyer, that lady was, her mouth wasn't easy, but she was a good person, you know. Her mouth wasn't easy. I was telling about the mouth, you know, because the mouth wasn't easy. But I love my parents, you know, they were really too fantastic. I don't know much about my father, I just know what you told me and the times I spent with him in St. Vincent. But what I can tell you is that he is a wonderful artist, and on that side, I think I took that talent and passed it on from him. Yeah.
So you talk very warmly about your parents, your grandmother in particular. Who are some of the other persons who you would say influenced you as an individual in different areas?
Yeah. Miss Hyacinth Elvin, she was my godmother. You know Hyacinth Elvin?
Yes.
Yeah. This lady was something else, you know. She had a great influence on my life, and her mother, Ada Elvin. I used to go sometimes and spend time in Queens Lane. So I'm very familiar and grew up with guys like Duncan Stowe, the lawyer, and so on, Philip Elvin, and so. So she was my godmother, and she was also very influential in my life. There's a teacher called Miss Josephine Joseph. She's still alive, I understand, today, but she's not doing very well. She kind of recognized persons. She actually honed my skills in literature, because in grammar school, when I moved from second form to third form, there's a cross between literature, I think, and agriculture or whatever. And I was wavering, and then I said, look, let me go and do literature. And so because I was already good with words, I thought. But then I was afraid of that Shakespeare business. And I had to do Shakespeare. This kind of Elizabethan language, you know, it didn't go down well with me. And she was a teacher. And when I tell you, Ferdina, this lady could teach literature. She could break down stuff. And all of us got to love it. So we had fellas like John Lou Black, Edward Lawrence, in our class, you know, some good guys. Pastor Randy, and these guys, you know, because of Majo. Majo could really teach literature and break down. She broke down the language, and we started to understand, and the words on the paper began coming alive. Until so much so that we also started quoting some long things of Shakespeare. You know what I mean? Some long sentences of Shakespeare and acting out plays. We loved it. And she must have played a very important part in my life, because when my literature helped me with my diction and my actual articulation, also to understand plays and drama and art. Steve Hyacinth is another one. He's my cousin, but an older cousin. And he, through the Methodist youth group, because I grew up as a Methodist, and my church played a very formidable role, especially Steve Hyacinth, because as a member of the New Dimension Theatre afterwards, but it was a Methodist youth group at first, and he was the president. And he gave me the opportunity to act in the first play called Lover's Lost. And he gave me the opportunity to do the theme song for that play. And we acted that song at the Wesley High School. So then guys like Valance who came in later, when he had New Dimension Theatre, but I was Steve Hansen from the Times, you know. So he was very influential. I used to watch how he used to do his plays, how he used to direct, you know, some used to entrust me some major parts in the production and so on. So I acted for a number of years. I acted in the House of Culture, and I did my stuff in the House of Culture as an actor and stuff like that. So these persons, they made a role in my life. Yeah, like I say, my mother, because my mother, although she was good at words, and even though she probably couldn't understand my work at a certain time when I reached a certain level, but she'd come and, for instance, when I write a song, my mother could tell you that song is a good song or not, and most times she'd be right. She would tell you why she thinks this song is not good, or this song could have been better, and you have to go back and fix it up. So I'll try out my songs on her, and if it works with her, it will work with everybody.
Tell me what you would have thought about this one.
My uncle Ashade
This is your daughter,
Yes,
Janie.
yes.
And what would her grandma have
Wow.
thought about that one?
I always shudder about that. I always tell a boy, if your granny was alive, boy, you know. Because, you know, this thing, I know she would have known that I'd be doing that because I started that very early, since in the 70s. Like I told you, almost all the queens in Dominica, Calypso queens, Swinging Janice, Yakima, all of them, Black Panther, all of them, I've written for all of them. The Checkers, the Observers. You know, I've written for so many persons throughout my lifetime. As a young person myself, I used to be competing against those persons and still writing for them. Yeah! I used to do the junior monarch stuff, I used to do stuff, you know, during grammar school time, you know, and, you know, cauliflower, or, you know, I used to write for a whole set of persons. I worked alongside Hicks in his early days, you know, and it just continued. And every year, from probably 1970 something, I've written 10 or more songs, you know, and for whether it's for Dumfester, Ian Michael Anthony, you know, won Mama Mother's Day song competition, you know, with me. Sheldon, Shelly Alfred of Signal Band, his 3 Crowns he won as a junior monarch. I was his writer, you know, and there are so many persons, you know, this gentleman from Kasim, Birmingham, I'm also his writer, you know, and, you know, so I've written for a number of persons. I've written for bands, for groups, for overseas persons in St. Kitts. Like this last year, I think Charles became a 3rd in the St. Kitts competition. I wrote a composition, you know. I write for a Lucian called Miss Lady Lane, you know. I've written for a number of persons in my lifetime, you know, and I really always reminisce as I say that, wow, if my mom was there to see what was happening with my work, you know. I recognize
so proud,
that, yeah, I recognize that even when I was singing Calypso, Calypso was not ready for me. And I realized that I'm not the best voice, and that's one of the things about recognizing yourself as an artist.
Yes.
I went into it, I made friends a couple of times, I realized I could never reach the top, you know, because my rendition was not all at the best.
Right.
You know? My father's a good renderer, and Johnny has happened to be a good
She
renderer.
is.
Yeah.
So what happened to you here?
I don't know. I happen to be the writer and the musician.
Well, there you
I happen to be the writer and musician, and I recognize that very early, you know, to, you know, stick to your strengths. I say,
Yes.
Jacko, stick to your strengths.
So you
And
quit?
yeah, I just quit, because when I check it, dice and them man coming in, Sasha P. I got having problems, you know. So I realized very early, okay, Jackson, stick to your friend. You're a good composer, you're a good writer, you're a musician, stick to your strength. And then my daughter came along, and from the time she was 5 years old, I realized she's going to be a budding talent, because when she was in preschool, they gave her to do a song in Miss Emmanuel's class. And when I came to see her graduation, and the young lady performed that song, I turned to my wife and I said, that little girl will be something else.
That's right.
You were so perform that song. So right away from there, I know I did not have to sing again. She would be my
You will
voice.
be investing
yes,
in
I've
her.
invested in her. Yeah, I don't write down sing again. So I've invested in her. And so far, so good.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
What was the last song you competed with? Do you remember at all?
Yeah, maybe Farther Away. That's maybe 2001.
Okay.
Or 2000.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long before that you did Typical Dominican?
Maybe a couple of years, I think 1998 or something. So
Okay.
that's before Hunter's Typical Dominican, because later on Hunter
Right.
was something Typical Dominican
Yes,
also.
yes.
The finals that year also with that song, Typical Dominican.
yes.
You know, so yeah, I started the Calypso Arena in the same year around 1988 when NC had Watch Your Butt Now, not Watch Your Reunion 88. I think that year I started doing stuff, Reunion 88, you know, and so on. But then I took on Observer, because Observer was a younger guy than me, a few years younger than me. And he was in the junior monarch, and I used to play with a band called RSB, Root Stems and Branches.
Right. I didn't know that. When I read that, I was like, yeah, I was in Root Stems and Branches.
As a band leader, Root Stems and Branches. Yeah, and I played an Observer. We had to play for Junior Calypso Monarch, just like how you find Signal Bands play for Junior Calypso Monarch today. We were asked to accompany them. And I found that young guy, Observer, I find there's something about him. Calypso wise, enthusiasm. Yes, high pitched voice. Almost sound like a little lady, but yes, I said, okay, this guy look like a guy that can take to the next level. And then I invested in him, and I wrote a song for him, It's the Gulf, and he reached semi-finals, and from that, I wrote other songs for him and started reaching the finals and so on, until he went to train his voice and started making an impact in Dominica Calypso. And I wrote for guys like Checker, you know, I wrote
Did
for
you write any of his songs when he won? Observer.
No, I wrote last year for him when he had
Okay.
Climate Change.
Okay.
But when
That was a good
I love
song.
it as a master song.
Yes.
I think so. Yeah, and what happened is that I think when he went to do some training with Kyrie School with his boys, I think Pat picked him up.
Okay.
And so from there, he did never give up on him, so I think he won the crown twice.
Yes. Okay.
But when he won the crown both times, I was the president of Dominica Calypso Association. So that's 2002, 2003. He won the crown. And you know, I was president at that time, so basically I was not really writing any song for anybody at the time.
Okay.
Those 2 particular years.
Okay.
So,
All right.
so,
Ian, I want to just jump back a bit and then we'll come back. I want to jump back to your youthful days. And you said you went to the Dominican Grammar School.
yeah.
I went to the Dominican Grammar School and I'm always proud of that, you know, being a DGS girl. What house were you in? What
Dominic.
You were Dominic.
That's every these were dominated. Dominic and Jupiter were dominated in
Oh.
my time.
I don't ever recall a time BJ dominated anything.
No, that's true. No.
Oh my
Skinner.
goodness.
When I just came to school, it was Skinner. When I came to school, because there were a lot of Shillenford guys, like Randy Shillenford and those guys were in Skinner. And I was hearing about Skinner House. But then my surname, Jackson's, all J's, or JA's, happened to be in Dominic.
I see.
And I did not want to be in that house, you know.
You didn't want to be
But
Dominic.
the first year,
Why?
because the reputation was Skinner. So I was coming to grammar school thinking, well, hoping to go in Skinner, but I used to hear about Skinner. When I put me in Dominic, I said, okay. And so I'm in the first year Dominic 1. The first year my entrance in grammar school, Dominic 1 that year. And from then Dominic 1 on 3 years, then Jupiter came in and started giving competition. But by that time now,
it was BJ and all of that.
BJ was more. BJ was. And I became the fastest runner in grammar school.
You?
Yes.
Ian Jackson.
I left the school with the record in 100 meters. Yeah, I became the fastest runner. And by accident. What happened is that I came in first form. And
by accident?
By accident. No, by accident. I found my speed in accident. I found out I was passing out by accidentally. The story about that is that when I was in first form, came to school, Mr. Ozzy Savre, he had a way of unearthing talent. And in first form, I played my liquor ball, my football. But then what happened when it had P, physical education time, as you know, he brought us out. So there's a gentleman in first form. He doubled first form. I won't say the guy name, he doubled first form. And he, the previous year, won all the junior sprints, 100 meters and 200 meters. So this guy happened to be my same class in first form. So anyway, he put us to run, and just running, having fun as young people. Then he put me to run in that same batch with that guy. And I beat the guy. So Mr. Sanders said, come, I'm Jackson I, so let's call it. Jackson I, come on, please. You and this guy, let's see you run. I ran, I don't know about the guy, you know. I just ran. I beat the guy again.
You beat him again?
Yeah. So Mr. Ozzy Savre come and said, Jackson, come on, you know what you've just done? I said, no, sir. Little boy, you know, just come 12 years.
Little bit.
Grabs little bit, yes.
Yes.
He said, well, you know what you've just done? You have just beat our champion at grammar school.
Shocker.
That's what happened, you know. I never knew I had speed or anything. I did just a running thing, just beat the guy, but I didn't know the guy had any significance. And from that, it was no turning back. And that year, I dominated the 100 and the 200 meters and the relay for juniors up to third form. Nobody could beat me. And then I left school and nobody beat me in school. And I left with the record. And Irving Guy, who happened to be the fastest thing I think that Dominican ever saw. Irving Guy, yes. Irving Guy came and broke the record. Okay? And that was how the record of the 100 meters broke.
You're joking, Ian.
Yeah, so I was a very fast guy.
I'm sure that's news to many of us.
Yeah, many people. But guys that I went to school with, like you say, Ted Seaver and those guys would know that. Ted Seaver, you know, Pastor Randy Rodney and those guys who went to school during the 70s SMA, in grammar school, would know of my speed, you know, as a runner. Yes, I was pretty quick in my time.
Interesting, but was that the only sport that you were in?
No, I played football for the school. I played with James Dominic. James Dominic was my goalkeeper.
What?
I captained the side. James also once I'm captain in grammar school also. I played with James Dominic, and I remember the finals where I scored against STB 1-0, and I beat them 1-0, and I was the person who scored. Although I got injured in the first half, you know, when attempting to score the goal. I scored the goal, but I think I got injured, and I was subbed for the rest of the game. But I won that game. We won that game. And then I went on to play, they had just introduced volleyball, and I was just leading the game. So I before I never really got to play. But I played like table tennis, and so I was a very good table tennis player. In fact, my brother was the junior table tennis champion. But I was beating him, but I was older than him, so I could not play the juniors. You know, and I don't think at the time when there was any senior competition, but I was also a very good table tennis player. So as a sprinter and a football player, I also played cricket for grammar school also. So Glenn Etienne and those guys are the president of the Football Association. I played football and so together with those guys, you know, and cricket together with those guys in my time. Yeah, I played a lot of sports in my time, a lot of sports. Yeah, I played for Spartans and Saints with Billy Doctor, one of those guys. Yeah, I played during those times. And you know, it was just really wonderful fun. You know, I played intermediates, I played seniors, I played for Spartan seniors. We won the cup in '79, there's a one wrong cup again, Hurricane David interpreted. There's a one wrong cup, and they gave Spartan the cup. So I played the Scooby, the Lawrence Brothers, Scooby and Bull, the famous Lawrence Brothers, Marcellus Lee, who's now in Nevis and manager of radio station Nevis. All these guys were my contemporaries. We played in the same class together. So we played a lot of ball. Yeah.
Interesting. So that's on the sports side.
Yeah.
On the academic side, what was your preference? We heard about the literature already.
Yes.
But
English and literature.
English and
preference.
literature.
Yes, I was very strong in that. In terms of reading and creativity, I was always strong. I think I left grammar school as being the top literature student. It was like myself and Edward Lawrence, who wrote on the papers for a number of years, as you know. And we were very strong literature students, English. As a matter of fact, in 1981, I produced my first booklet called Of What's Confusing. It's a book of poetry when they self-published, when Frontline Bookstore was this bookstore at the time. And so yes, that was my real strength. I loved biology too, by the way, as the only science I loved, and it was to the extent agricultural science.
Okay.
But I was never into the chemistry and those kind of heavy stuff. I was never very strong at maths too.
Right.
I should just pass maths.
Tell me about
Because I had to pass it to go. But I used to struggle and grind to pass maths, just to go up. So I was never strong at maths. So I knew I'd never do anything with maths. But when it comes to writing, people said I had to great words to put it down. And that I think was my strong point. But it happened that even when I left school.
But before you left school, were there like drama clubs and that kind of thing back then?
Boy, let me tell you, the world was different,
The world was different, yes.
The world was different, trust me, but the world was different. Let me tell you, I've been to all kind of drama clubs and all kind of different groups, to hone your talent and your skills, man. And when you have guys like Aldens who are looking on, you see Jesus Christ Superstar, you see all those productions of, PAT, People's Action Theatre at the time, and you were involved. And one thing I must mention my mother again, my mother loved us to be in those things. Because she always felt like the young people had to be occupied. She was very proud of me. And so there's a lot of drama club, there's youth groups. I was in the Boys Brigade.
Boys Brigade? What is that?
It's a Methodist thing. A brigade, yes. I was playing the drums and I also played the bugle. There's a Boys Brigade also existing. It's similar like how they have the Scouts, where they have the Scouts for the Catholic. The Boys Brigade was to the Methodist Church. So the Scouts more Catholic and the Boys Brigade more to the Methodist Church. So that was also the youth group that was involved. And we had people like Sherwin Goddard, who's dead now, for many years now. He is a Bajan. He is leader of the Boys Brigade, and he honed our skills and talent. To a lot of things, swimming, playing basketball, playing a lot of different things, tying ropes, making knots, and survival stuff in the forest, and doing lighting sort of buka and so on, So all those things was very part of my upbringing,
And the world has developed so much in terms of technology.
And you have to put a question mark as to when it's developed,
Well,
it has grown and developed.
In that, back in those days, you all had no laptops, no tablets, no mobile phones,
Sure.
nothing of the sort.
And that is why I always cry to my students, as a teacher now. It is so much easier, and yet they make it so hard. It's so much easier. When my teacher asked me to research something, be it on volcanoes, I took out all kind of books in the library to find about volcanoes and take my notes. Encyclopedias. Encyclopedia, that's the best thing, yes. No, I remember, that is correct. Encyclopedias. And every home had to try to have an encyclopedia.
Yes, we had one.
We have one at home too. And you have to make sure you write down and research it, and you have to write it down. There's no computers or even typewriters at the time. You have to actually write down the information. Now guys at the press of a button, they cut and paste stuff, and they still don't know what's there, and they don't bring it to school. The life has been so much easier, access at the fingertip, and they still won't do the work. And so that was it. So I think I always tell and I believe that. I don't know how many people believe it. I'll tell you something I believe, Ferdina. I believe a guy who got 6, 7 subjects in my time was more brilliant than a guy who got 13 subjects today.
You think so?
I think so. The effort.
And your reason for saying that is what?
The effort, the skill, his level of interpretation, because he didn't have to, he had to source out the information. And right now, for instance, you're doing history. The teacher will give you 13 things that must come on the history paper, and 5 of them must come. What time we had no past papers. We had no past papers. We had no past papers in those times. Remember, in those times, you have past papers. You can actually go through past papers and pass your exam. We had no past papers. We didn't know where they was coming from, where the answers were coming from. And you had to just study everything. So when I went to school with guys like Peter Bannis and Babin and those guys, these guys were brilliant. you know, and when I compare to what's happening now, and remember, I feel also as a teacher that the CXCs and so forth are watered down compared to what existed. There's more commercial thing now. If a lot of people start failing, the authorities might look for another examining board.
Yes, yes.
Because they mark on a curve, they want to make sure that, well, 80% of the students that went to sit have to pass.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's 40% is the pass mark, then they get 40% and get A's. That's my own picture of it. That's how I view it now. So 80% is not necessarily 80% that it was in 1970s. Almost like trading. When you had a dollar in 1970s, it's different from a dollar now. It's almost like saying that. Because the purchasing power for a dollar now is different from 1980. So same thing like education. When you are a student in the 1970s, right, it's very likely that the A student today might be at a C or B.
Wow.
In those times. That's just my personal judgment of that.
That's
because the way the way I used to relate to the students before and the brilliance I used to see in them, the students today, I don't see that same level of brilliance as such. They are more technically equipped, but not necessarily more academically equipped.
okay.
Yeah.
Ian, we're gonna take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk a bit about what happened after you left grammar school as you started to become a man.
Okay,
Right?
no problem. All right.
We're coming right back. This is the In the Spotlight radio show. It is 11 minutes past 9 o'clock. Sabina, you can run to the kitchen. I give you 2 minutes to do that and come right back. Good evening to everyone else tuned in and locked into the program, whether it be on Q95 FM or who are viewing the live. We're happy to have all of you. We're having quite a conversation here on the In the Spotlight radio show with the one and only Ian Jacko Jackson.
What does the name about this thing there?
It's still live. I was asking you if you wrote this one.
Nights from 8 p.m. in the Spotlight, featuring people from all walks of Dominican life. Spotlighting their triumphs and tragedies, dreams, hopes, aspirations.
What's that?
Stories.
No.
People in politics, religion, sports, business, music,
Lugas,
culture, the media,
and Crispy, the country nice, all them songs.
Yes, I have to say.
The country nice.
Ordinary Dominican. Listen to their stories. No
It's a
limitations.
Internet children, all these things there.
No holds barred. In the Spotlight will also spotlight interesting topics, issues, and relevant situations. Don't miss In the Spotlight on Q95 FM radio every Monday night from 8 p.m. In the Spotlight.
Dominican nice.
Dominican nice, yeah.
One-on-one with interesting personalities, educational and informative topics and issues, intriguing and entertaining. A must listen to In the Spotlight, Monday nights from 8 p.m. on Q95. Thank you for listening to In the Spotlight. We would love to
Because of this man.
Yeah.
Now say hello.
Okay.
Now.
Yeah. Get up with this together, man. Lower class, same class with Brian, remember that?
Oh.
Yeah.
We don't have skyscraper, but still that's how you do. We don't have helicopter, but our welcome to you is true.
The country nice.
Country nice. No costume like Trinidad, but we play all my sweetheart. No lady regular like Brazil, but we jump and pretend to see. The country nice, boy. The country nice. Yes. And if you're looking for a land of tranquility, where the biggest weapon is talk and make we. Where politicians are fully people easily, you come to the right place at the right time. Everybody feel fine. Hey. Dominica is a paradise. Oh yes. Say it once, brother, say it twice.
This is one penned by Ian Jackson in 2015 for Chris via a song called Dominica Nice. Do you really think your country was nice? Or it was a twist on the
It
topic,
has a
right?
twist also. We have nice parts and we also have other parts which you need to investigate and put right. Yes.
Indeed. But we'll talk more about some of those you've written for, or we'll try to play a couple more. But let us talk, Ian. It's already 15 minutes past the hour. Time is creeping up on us slowly. So after you left the Dominican Grammar School, what was in store for Ian Jackson?
Yeah, well, after I left grammar school, I tried to work as anybody else. I had one or two jobs on the port, did one or two things, tally clerk. It didn't last too long on the port thing, because the port was sort of a kind of hierarchy and passed on to family members and so on. At the time, that's what it was. At the time in those days, I had no, buddy there for me really in the port. I got through. I worked for a few times as a tally person. I worked for one or two stores in town. But these are just fly-by-night stuff, 1-2 months. But my real first job was with the Social Security, and I was employed there in 1981. So basically, I spent 20 years at Social Security, 20 full years. Came out there in the year 2000, and basically my whole life changed. I was really involved. At first time, when you just started work, you really need money as a young person, especially in those times. So my pay packet was just going home. I just want to hold something in my pocket.
Not these days,
different.
Car.
I was never into car, but I mean, I understand what you're saying. But so, and it was very fun. My experience, there was no computers at the time. Computers came in while I was there. And we were still doing everything manually. We were going into the National Provident Fund files and pulling out information to pay various benefits. I served as information officer. I was served as cashier for quite a few years. I was there 3-4 years as a cashier also, and attached to the accounts department. And I made a lot of friends through cashiering, I remember Mr. R.B.D. Douglas used to really get on my nerves when I come there, because although he used to give me a lot of jokes, but when Mr. R.B.D. Douglas from Portsmouth comes, he comes with all his quotes. So you have hundreds of dollars in quotes and 50 cents. Mr. R.B.D., you joking man. Yeah, what do you think? What do you think? So I tell him, just wait, when everything finished, I will deal with you.
Yes. Because
he has a wholesale stuff, he has his old school way. He brings all his stuff, no checkbook, nothing.
You had to count all the quarters?
You have to make sure it's correct.
Oh.
Mr. RBD have the stuff.
There's machines for that now, Ian.
You didn't have that in your time. So your life was difficult.
Yes.
So Mr. RBD, but he used to have a lot of jokes. I still have a lot of fun together, because he is a very queer individual, unique man himself, And I knew his role in the whole history of Dominican and the Douglas dynasty. So we used to bear it out with him, and Mr. Douglas is about his fun. So I made a lot of friends for cashing, and also for helping out people for Social Security, because I used to also work out claims and also deal with registration and information. So I would tell somebody, look, we have a pension there for you. You need to come and check on the pension. I meet friends.
Your mother's streets.
Yeah. So you need to come and check on your business, because look so and so and so and so. Or if I find somebody benefit is not up to date, I know they work there, but you didn't work there now. No man, they have to pay your stuff for you, and I'll go and say, what are you doing? You will not be man pension or whatever, So I do those little things. So people got to befriend me because of that, and they'd come to say, oh boy, if it wasn't for you, Jackson. I said, no man, you deserve that. It's your stuff, I just played my role there, So that was what it was at Social Security. And then I got heavily involved in a club, in a Social Security club, where we used to go overseas, and I became president of the club. So we went to St. Lucia and had exchanges. Lucians came down here, and we also went to St. Lucia, and it was really, really, really good, during those times. And all my guys like, Sam Martin, who was the representative for Soufriere in his time. He was a younger guy than me, but he was involved with the club. And Tony Datuch is still there, Sarah Kentichel, who has now passed on, Shirley Pond and all those friends that I still live at Social Security presently. And so it was a really nice Ezra Mr. Dample, Aaron Dample, JB, John Baptist, and all these guys. And Florian David, who died recently, a very good friend of ours, at Social Security. So we had a lot of fun. And Erickson Christopher, I can't leave out Erickson Christopher, he might be overseas now listening. And so we had a little club. We used to play cricket too, and softball cricket. And these days were very enjoyable at Social Security. My both parents were alive in terms of my mother and granny. So it was nice, and I could bring home a pay packet to them, because they did so much for me in my time. And I remember I did not want, after grammar school, it's very important that you ask that, after grammar school, I could have gone to college.
Okay.
But I was very conscious as the first. I think Mommy and them had done enough. Yeah.
So you wanted to contribute?
I wanted to contribute, yes. I wanted to contribute. I could have gone to college. I never went to college. I just went straight into the market of work.
Okay.
Because I thought my granny was of age now. My mother wasn't really working as such. She used to go down into Puerto Rico and bring down stuff to sell, but wasn't anything permanent, you know. And I just thought that I felt a little crunch at home. I felt there's too much was dependent on my granny. I felt that it was time to give her ease up. And I just made my contribution there. I had two brothers still at grammar school, and my sister was still younger. So I felt, well, Jack would know the time for you to go and do something. So I was happy when I brought my first pay packet. I felt so good. They tell me, oh, you know that. I said, no, hold that, man.
You gave it to your mother?
I gave it to them for months, you know. For months I was giving it to them, you know. And they gave me what they wanted. And they run things at the home, meals and bills and providing, so I didn't really worry about money. Money wasn't a priority for me. You know, after subsequently I was thinking, well, we want this, you want that, and worry about whatever. And then my granny had a vehicle. It became my vehicle a certain time because she couldn't drive or anything like that. So. And she wanted to be mobile and move around. She had loved to go to the market. And so every Saturday I was my responsibility to bring her to the market. The market is a place, a hub for meeting friends and family and so on. And so that was all part of it. And even today, that should have has stayed with me. My wife is not the one who goes to the market.
You do?
I go to the market every Saturday. It has just remained in me. My wife don't have to go to the market. You know, I'm the one going to the market because I learned that from my granny. I used to go with her all the time. So it just remained with me. I'm the one still going to the market at home. You know, so this little treats the scheme now. And just pretty nice. So I'm going to Social Security. I think what made me think about leaving Social Security, probably I might have been still there, is after 20 years that
You worked there for 20 years?
20 years. Long time, 20 years. What happened, there was a gentleman who came down, or team, who came down, I think Price Waterhouse team came down to Social Security to do an assessment. And they found that the scheme was overstaffed by 21 persons. Because almost every government that come in power, they should find a way to send one to the Social Security. You know how it was already. They're trying to appease their constituents. You know, give them a little job. But so there's no job for them really, so they find a way to put them in.
Yes.
So subsequently, as time went on, they found this scheme. They're trying to compare what happens in Lucia settings and so forth with a bigger population. And Dominican Social Security had around the same staff with a smaller population. So they said we're too
heavy.
Yeah, too heavy, right? So salaries were a big chunk of what was going to Social Security when you focus on benefits. So they said they gave a voluntary package to leave. And I quickly grabbed onto it because around 2 years before, I'd requested for me to go and study and get study leave. And I was refused study leave. I could not get study leave. They told me I had to leave and reapply to be employed. I say, after 15 years, that time around 15 years, I said, no man, that doesn't make sense. After 15 years in the institution, I have to. And there were some people who they favored to go. And they allowed it, as in any institution.
Yes.
So I left it as I said, okay, no problem. And then when that opportunity came, I grabbed it. I built my home already, but then what I wanted was to, when I left, I got what you call a separation package. And it helped me to put towards my downstairs.
Okay.
And that was how I left Social Security. I applied for jobs like anybody else. And that time I played the most music in my life because I was on boats. I played with Rough and Ready, Darryl Bob, and I played with everybody because I was basically unemployed.
Right.
And just playing as a musician. So I played on boats, I played at 40 on a number of times. Other people checked me out to play because they know of my prowess in playing music and so on. And we played all about. And then afterwards, the WASCO called me when they had the road installation project.
The major road project.
And I became the communication officer. So I was a communication
I remember
officer. Yes, for that. Yeah, I stayed there for 2 years. And and after that, they did not renew the contract. They said the project was finished.
Okay.
I think it was a funded project by
And you understood
I
that?
understood that. I came here knowing it wasn't coming permanent. Yeah, they paid me a small gratuity, and I left. I got a lot of blows from the money because my personality. They said, well, Jackson, boy, you're the first doing that, boy. You know, when they see me, they say, they just have to laugh because they're going to give Joe Asco blows, and they see Jacko. They can't give us too much blows, so I guess they enjoy the fact that it was Jacko doing that, you know. It's like you further in, people can't give you too much blows, so people see people further in and say, further in, boy, you know.
That's exactly what I get here. That's exactly what I get.
They want to put the pressure on the company, but as soon as you further, you can say, that's further in, boy. You know, so I try to develop a little rapport with people to understand those things, and you know. So it was nice, you know, especially at Newtown. Guys used to ball about, boy, how they're just digging up the road at Newtown, and they come and they say, oh, boy, Jack, boy, if you see those in you, boy, I tell them on something, you know, that kind of way. So we understood that, and after the project was finished, so happened soon after, Mr. Elwin of SMA called me. He told me that he can't promise me I have a permanent job, but he said, oh, they have some tutorship thing happening in the afternoon with business. and English, and you wanted me to teach. Then in the afternoon, so I started off doing afternoon classes. And then the lady who was Miss Pemberton.
You know, not to interrupt, you know, I thought you teaching was something that you just felt that you wanted to do, and then you
I wanted to do. I applied for it, I applied.
Oh, you did?
All the applications I said was the WASCO, teaching and so on.
But I thought, no. What I thought is that you left whatever else you were doing to go and teach.
No, that would not be good, because Social Security money was much higher than teaching at the time. That would be a wise decision.
Okay.
Yeah. Although they paid their gratuity, and it was a decent gratuity at the time, and so on. So yes, when I teach, they call me, but all my life I've naturally been teaching, not formally in a classroom, but my whole life has been teaching. So basically, when they called me there to do English, things working out well with the English, because I naturally had a knack for English and language and so on. So it happened, and then it didn't take too long after, maybe around 8 months or so, I was put on the permanent staff, and be part of it. I subsequently was interested to head the English department for 2 years as time went on. But even just before I should say, just leaving Social Security, I went to do a postgraduate diploma in management, which I got. And when I came to SMA, I had that already, and with my CXC subjects. And then subsequently, because of my experience, I got through with Leicester University and did my master's there in 2011. So I have a master's in management, business management.
Good stuff.
With marketing.
Again, it's never too late.
You're never too late.
Never too late.
I did that at Leicester University. I also subsequently in my arts now was offered a fellowship with myself, General Jacob and Gerald Latouche. We were offered a fellowship based on some event we took part in. We got a fellowship to go to University of Miami. I spent 3 months there, General Jacob, where we toured all around Miami area, reading our work, and people were so amazed at, because we talk about Lajables and Sukuya, which you never heard
they
about.
They don't know anything about
and although they had some of them that were doctorates and so forth, but people are constantly hearing the stories, so we became different. And they found that, what we had was just different, so they brought us all about to read our stuff, and that was a wonderful time, and we got a nice little fellowship and so on. So I can always put on my resume that for the arts, and so I got that. I also did performances in Jamaica. Olin was there as the chief cultural advisor.
He sent for you?
No! I just happened to be there doing a project, and I just said, put on a show. And I checked out Olin and I said, how I can get this thing done? And right there at the university, I did something called one-on-one, I think. One-on-one. It was me alone was a show. I alone, and I can remember a Grenadian guy with a guitar, that's all. So I did poetry, and I did sound, and I did poetry. And the light was just on me, and I was just doing my poetry in a dramatic form. I presented poetry at Olin as a show, and went on quite well. As one individual, one person on stage.
A one-man show.
One-man show. Yeah, one-on-one, we call it. And it was very nice, and Olin still in the Jamaica Drive, in Jamaica itself, they call it, and it went on quite well. And I reforged the relationship with Olin because Olin was one of my principals in my last year's, I was in 78, I think, in grammar school as a principal there. So, I rubbed shoulders with Olin there and the Writer's Guild, so I knew him on a personal level already before, so it was nice. And yeah, so basically, I'm still at SMA, and doing both what I like to do, my English and literature. I'm also doing other extracurricular things at SMA. For instance, right now I'm involved in the Junior Monarch show, which we revamped last year.
Okay.
Which we revamped last year because, as I told you before, SMA was the first school who really started the Junior Monarch. I just think it's a shame that other schools have taken it on board, such as the SMP, the junior section to SMA almost, and we have not seen it fit to take it on board. So it's nice that we can now take it on board and make it happen. So I have to be writing for all the students, almost like a man himself situation. After man himself died, I felt that there's a need for assistance in the St. Martin's School, and for around 4 years, I wrote for the students there. Man himself was doing it, and I found that nobody else was doing it. So I volunteered. I said, okay, I can write for them. I just wrote for them. And the only thing I want to say about it is, although it's something I need to say, I found that stressing that I said, but I've written so many songs for Junior Monarchs over the years, and hundreds of songs literally, and I can only remember, there may be 1 or 2 individuals, but I can only remember clearly that only Sheldon Alfred's mom came to say thanks.
Seriously?
Yeah, and for free,
You wrote for the Junior Monarchs for free? Because that's the next generation. Next generation, you're investing in.
I'm not just write for them for Dina. When I'm with you, I'm with you. What I do, I write for the students, right? I don't just play my guitar and write. I put the music for it. I come to the band house and make sure it is done properly. Tell them how to hold the mic, tell me how to do that properly. I don't understand what you're saying. I take them under my wing. The competition is won, they get a prize to go to Diplomat, they expect the zeal, they get laptop, they get things, they will say, oh, Mr. Jackson, our mother would turn back and say thank you.
Yes, at least a thank you.
It's very sorry in Dominican in that respect.
Oh.
I must say, and there has been a myth, I really think that Dominicans are nice, but maybe more nice to foreigners. I always say that. I just think it's just the truth. I'm a very candid person. I'm not a candid person. I don't think Dominicans are nice to say nice. Because just judging from that, my experience is that if I've written for over 150 junior monarchs, and I can only recall one person or one parent come back and say thanks.
That's sad.
It is sad.
That's sad.
And I don't need to say anymore.
No, you don't. You absolutely do not need to say anymore. Ian, let's talk about, we have half an hour left. We have to talk about your life as a poet. Yes. Let us talk about your musician element and your voluntary work that you've done, or your contribution to community.
Yes.
Let us talk about you as a poet. And you said it started in school.
School, yeah.
But it has brought you much joy.
Oh, yes.
In terms of poetry. Why poetry though?
It's a form of expression that most people have not been able to dabble with. You see, people are getting into prose. People say what they want to say. I think it's because of my conservative nature in a form, because poetry is what you call an economy of words.
Economy of words.
Yes, an economy of words. You don't do tell somebody something that is very long and lengthy, prosy. You tell them very short. So you use sort of metaphors and similes to bring out what you want to say. So, for instance, if a guy likes to, a guy is lazy, or you find a society is lazy, you say like Shakespeare, if all the days were playing holidays, to play would be as tedious as to work. And then you pause. And when you go home, you understand what the guy is telling you. So that's what I love about poetry. Poetry have line breaks about it that you cannot get right away. So I tell my students to read a poem 3 and 4 times to understand it. And I found I have that economy of words that can be utilized. And I sort of kind of, build on that. And that is what I think. And I had good tutors. I had Mervyn Morris, who taught me, Professor Mervyn Morris, and the world acclaimed Derek Walcott also taught me.
Seriously?
Yes, at the University of Miami, about the use of poetry and language. So I have been tutored by these guys, so I know, General Jacob would know about that, and also Latos would know about that, because he tutored us about the use of words and language, the economy of words. And as a result of that, I found poetry to be very colorful, and really stretches person's imaginations beyond, and it helps in your songwriting skills. And that is why I think that many persons who say they are poets, they are just regurgitating words, but poets are persons who also read other people's work.
Okay.
You have to be able to identify people's work. In the Writers Guild, which I belong to, people used to come and say, oh, poetry, they're poets. And I just do the same thing about a group or legate or whatever, just reading things. I say, but that's not poetry. That is not poetry. That is just saying things, that's just lines. But it's not poetry. Poetry, you have to evoke imagery. You have to be able to use metaphors. You have to be able to, and the economy of words is very, very important in poetry, and your line breaks, and the way you say it, and your emotion, your voice have to portray all that. And so all these things, and that is why I delve into poetry. I think poetry is a way, and you have to read the Bible, you have to read works of other persons to get, to understand and unearth their talent. You can't be a poet and don't like to read other people. That's being very selfish. That's just saying, I am it, and nobody else is it. So like I say, for instance, you can't be a Triple K and not come to a WCK jam. You have to come to each other's jam. So that's what I have a problem in going to shows, for instance, going to a Steve Harrison production, going to a Power production. And Power is putting on a show, and when I look in the crowd, I watch around as a person who comes to the show. I'm seeing that where is the guy from Triple K? Where's the guy from that band? Because it's theatre, you don't want to come. But theatre is all part of the art form. So how do you expect this guy to support you when you have a jam now? If we as artists don't support each other, how can we ask other people to support each other? Do you have a Triple K album? You love Calypso. Do you have any Calypso album at your home? No! You cannot love the art form. You love the competition, but not the art form. You know, so there's quite a difference.
You've won some awards along the
Oh
way.
yes. Well, with poetry,
had some great opportunities and rewards with poetry.
Yeah, poetry. I think I maybe hold a record as of now. I see been threatened by 1 or 2 persons for winning the poetry competition some 8 times.
8 times.
You know, in my career. I've also won a couple short story competitions, but my strength, like I tell you, is poetry. And I also was offered a fellowship to the University of Miami in Dominican arts. And in 1999, I received the Fame Award. I don't know if you remember that. Mr. Dennis Joseph headed that company. I read the Fame Award, Lifetime Achievement Award, with Raymond Lawrence and those guys for my contribution to poetry.
What year was that?
1999, I think.
Okay.
1999.
I won a Fame Award one year. I don't remember which year.
After
Oh no, it was long after. That was in 2005 or something.
Yeah. 1999, I won the Fame Award for poetry. And then subsequent to that, well, as you know, in 2014, I won my most prestigious award. It's the Golden Drum Award for Literature and Arts in Dominica. So
you're proud of that.
I'm very proud of that.
But Ian, you know I'm going to ask you to at least do a verse or something for us. Which one do you know really off your head that you think you can give us a bit?
Well, them say me no know. What me know, them no know. What me know. Who don't know, me no know. Cause when me gaze and me see all them things, believe me, it's just a whole heap of misery. Cause it's just a gun, a bomb, a hatred and corruption. When will it end? Me no know. Some say teenagers barely a grow, and who are the father? No one know. But no ask me, cause me no know. That's a extra.
Good one. I remember that one. I definitely remember that one.
Me no know.
Yes.
And I like to do a lot of people's performance because I've found I've strayed away from the writing on the page because I find that our Caribbean people are not into that formal type of poetry. So I listen to guys like Muto Baruka, I listen to guys like Mikey Smith and so forth, and even my stories are like Paul King style, you know. And I have a lot of stories too, basically, and probably I should have brought a couple of my stories tonight.
You should have.
Yes. I have a lot of number of stories that I speak to, a lot of issues in Dominica from our first event in the Olympics when we attended the Olympics, and I have actually put those things on record for tomorrow. So when I pass or when somebody passes, they can understand what happened in Dominica. You might laugh, but at the end of the day, you get the story what happened. So I have a lot of work like that I have done.
Okay.
You know, and so.
Do you you're working on a
book? Yes. I work on my first full publication. I've done 3 booklets already, but I'm working on a first full publication, and I hope to do that sometime in the middle of this year. I wanted to do it on my birthday, but it doesn't seem to be happening because with publishers and so on. I'm right now doing the editing. I have somebody doing the editing for me, and so I'm working on that. I try to bring it on my birthday, which is normally the 6th of March. I say no.
It is normally?
It's the 6th of March. Yes, it's the 6th of March. But I suspect I'll be a little later than that. But again, praise God, because when I do that book, I want my daughter to be in Dominica because she has been an inspiration to me. Okay. So I wanted to be there when I'm actually launching that particular production.
What is the book about, Ian?
It's about spotlighting the arts.
Okay.
It's basically an extension of what I've been doing on the papers. Okay. And I'm reviewing the arts and looking at the arts in Dominica. I say in my lifetime, God willing, that I want to do 3 books in my lifetime. Okay. This one is the first one, and then I want to do 2 other books.
On
basically.
Any particular?
Yeah, well, one of them basically about
your
my
life.
My life, you know, and as a matter of fact, the name, there's a name for it already.
I have a name for mine too. If you want to share yours, I'll share mine.
I'll share mine. And I've told my daughter that. Decadence.
Okay.
Decadence.
Mine is going to be called Behind the Laughter.
Behind the Laughter.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's the name of mine.
That sounds deep
I
already.
can tell you.
Yeah, that sounds deep.
I already have the name. I haven't started writing yet, but I have the name.
You should.
Behind the Laughter.
So that's one of the things I want to do. Decadence. I really feel strongly about it. I have so much ideas floating in my head. I'll put on one word here because I'm working on my first book. But the ideas that in my head, I know it will come easy.
It will.
It will come easy because there's another thing floating in my head and so on. So in terms of but I want to say my biggest award, my biggest pride of place in my home is extract. I don't know if you have ever seen it from the newspaper, which my daughter wrote about her father on my birthday.
Really?
Yeah, the Sun newspaper printed. My daughter didn't have anything to give me for my birthday. She's not working, obviously. So she said to herself, what can she do? She went to the Sunday newspaper because she might write there. And she told Mr. James she has an article to write about her father.
Oh my goodness, don't get me all emotional
So
here.
that article is framed for Diana. That happened around 4 years ago. That article is framed and is even above my Golden Drum Award at my home. So this is my first biggest award, my major award of my life, is being a father. And you could imagine what my daughter said about me. I was also close to tears about even talking about that, feel a little emotional about it.
Emotional.
Because I never knew. I knew I tried to play my role as a father. I never knew that my daughter looked up to me like that, and her ideas about me, and they used to express, and people called me about it. And this has pride of place at my home, even before my Golden Drum Award, which is my most senior award in Dominican. But people don't know, in my heart, this is my biggest award. So,
and I can definitely understand why.
Yeah.
And maybe some of what she wrote, she had probably never said to you.
No.
But she wrote it.
Yes, from her heart.
And then she wrote it from her heart.
Yeah.
And then not only for you to see, but the world to see.
For the world to see.
And I think that is even more important.
Yes, the world.
Yes.
You know, the world seeing that. You know, and I think when a man can evoke that from his son, his daughter, that is his greatest achievement.
Of
because
course.
really, when you live in a life, you don't live a life for yourself, you know. You live to pass down a legacy to people, and if you can impact those closest to you like that, you know, you think that no matter what people tell you, for instance, no matter what anybody tells me in the world about myself, you know, I know myself, and I think my people closest to me know me, and that's what I believe about me. I'm the very reserved type. People form opinions, you know, about people sometimes. Somebody could have formed an opinion about me, and I'll give you a little joke is that, and that happens to everybody. Like, there's a lady I meet. Every time I want to say hi to her. You know many people like you want to say hi to?
Yes.
You just feel like you want to say hi to the person, but the way the person have their face, boy, you see, boy. You know, he's a girl, you know. You know, he's a lady, you know, and so, you know. And so you passing the rest, I want to say hi to you. Your hand almost lifting up to say hi. But the way the person passing,
Yes,
you're
right.
that person, you know. So then incidentally, you know, I was at an institution in Dominican a couple of weeks ago, you know. And the person just asked me, I didn't know the person know my name now. The person, Jackson, what's your time? I can't tell the person the time. So I said, but why your face always breaks like that? Tell me true now, people just tell me that, and the girl started smiling, and just a different person. So I say opinions about people, and I started talking to her now. I tell her what's her name, I asked her what's her name, and I said, boy, you really know how long I want to talk to you, say hi to you. And every time I see you pass there, I just I'm afraid to say hi.
Because of his
Your face! And she's not that kind of person, she just appears to be so. So when you form the people that really know you are your people. And that's why I felt very feeling about that. I think, you know, I'm a very reserved person to myself. And for that I can say so, I think maybe in my life, I maybe miss out on plenty girlfriends for my wife because I just didn't want to approach people about anything or didn't want to give up myself, you know, to people. So I'm that kind of a person. I'm very reserved other than my arts and my music. When I talk about arts and music, I can talk about it for the whole world. Clearly. But if it's other things to me, I just keep that to myself. I just say, okay, well, you know, I just don't really worry about it.
Never mind.
Yeah, that wasn't really of any significance to me as such, you know, and so on. So maybe I pass on a lot of things that people could be seeing me. Maybe in my school days, maybe I like to see me, I don't know, you know, but because I'm so reserved about myself and so on. Or the vice versa. And there are girls, there are ladies now I'm seeing now. I say to myself, well, you know, if I never tackle them as younger. You know, these things happen, you know.
Of course.
And so on, you know, but that is the life, you know, I'm happy of it is, you know. I'm married, you know, me and my wife, we're there for 22 years now.
22 years.
22 years, that's
a
a long time. You know? Like everything else had its ups and downs.
Of course.
Life has ups and downs, but I'm quite satisfied, you know, and my children, you know, my boy Kiwan, I want to say good night to him, everybody is listening. And you do say when you have a child like that, when you have a child like Johnny, the other one takes the spotlight, put it that way, it's not the spotlight. So I Kiwan, I might feel a little slighted. I want you to know that Daddy loves in the same way.
Of course.
You know that everybody is different in their different ways and so on. So children might misconstrue because I'm always with Johnny and she's doing her stuff and whatever, and we have like things that we like together. But my boy also has his way about him, about certain things and so on. And I also, in time, respect. It took me a little while, but certain time I realized that people are different. My wife always said, no, you know, things are different. Everybody is the same. I said, but true now, and so I said, but hope people can be so different. But afterwards, I understand that, you know, that everybody has their thing to be, and everybody have to understand each other, and you have to understand each other, and love each other, and know each other, you know, and that is the best thing, you know. So basically, yeah, the journey for life has been good in that respect. Yeah.
We're going to talk about music, Ian.
Yeah.
Music. Hey.
And then you have Tasha P one time, if you can pull that up too.
One of my favorite Calypsonians, by the way.
Yes, Lucas.
I just love Lucas on
Yeah,
stage.
Lucas is nice, yeah.
They don't want to work for it. They want it now. They want it now. All right, so this one is by Lugas. Now, Ian, we have to talk about all elements of your music. We know you play steel pan, we know you write calypso, we know you play whatever instrument, bass guitar, right? But I want to talk about this, and I want to talk about Lugas and a couple like Lugas.
Yes, yes.
So this is a person this is a Calypsonian that you've written for.
Oh yes, number of
right?
songs. Yes.
Number of songs. This was a big one.
Yeah, that's
right?
the only song I think he made the finals with.
Right.
Internet Children. Yes.
Good. Now you take your time and you write a song for a Calypso.
really?
You know where I'm going. I'm sorry, I have to go there.
Yeah.
You write a song for a Calypsonian and it's a beautiful song and the vibe flowing and people love it and people can relate to that. And then at the critical time,
Yeah, it's hard. That happened to Crispy a number of times too.
Yes.
And I probably found that is where we broke down in terms of me writing for both of them. You know,
Right.
sometimes I sort of was hard on them on what's in demands because you take your time and write a song, put it down, you know. And the guy, you know, basically butchers it because almost every time I write for these two guys, they suddenly look like they're going to make finals.
Yes.
And then something
I'm
goes
telling
wrong
you.
somewhere. They're always there, you know, going to make finals, you know. I mean, not even if the Dominican song you made finals of it, you know. And this Internet Children, people rate it, and I also rate it too as one of my best songs
I think
because
so.
Internet Children has world appeal, and basically in Dominican did a big hit. You got internet cafe, you got internet bosses, and people even start talking to one another and talking about all these internet children. So it really made an impact on the minds and souls of people, and that's the only song that Lucas so far has made the finals with. So I think that qualifies it to be one of my biggest songs ever, you know. So.
But how does it feel for you as a writer, and probably to some extent the composer as well in some instances of a song, and then that happens? How do you feel?
No, you feel down. I cry about it, you know.
You do.
When I say cry, not literally, but like
Yes.
if I had a competition, I just stood and said, we, and people turn to me too, because they go and write it. People turn to me. The last couple of times Chris D, for instance, did that at the college.
And that's another one I love to see.
Yeah,
Both
both of them are good guys, you know. Both of them are good guys. They are very competitive, and I think they can do a lot of stuff together. But I just think they have to hold their head together, and also they have to be with somebody all the time and find out what is it that causing that problem to happen. I think in the case of Chris B, for instance, probably Chris B has not been very structured. Of late, he went to the finals, right? But he has not been very structured in his approach of going to sing a calypso. Because remember, he came up from a background where he is into dub and rap music. And rap music, you know, you can escape. You know, calypso is very structured. You can leave out a line, put it for the crowd to take and whatever thing. So get excited, leave out a line. Remember, it's like when Buju Band come and perform, you have to sing a whole song. You can wheel and come again. Calypso, there's no wheel and come again. Once you wheel, you can't come again. So I think that he has come from that background. So that, and he's also a very excitable character on stage. So as a result of that, it gets into him. Logos, very similar when he was forgetting the songs. I don't know. It's a mental thing. He alone can get over. He alone can get over.
I wonder if that's why he stayed out this year.
But I think it's possible. It's possible. It's possible. I can't blame him. He has to find himself. He might come up next year and come back different.
I hope so. I love them on stage.
Yeah. I love both of them on stage. I love both of them, despite I'm not writing for them now. But I think my biggest song, also, apart from international, I think my biggest song was Woman Time.
Somebody said Stop from Blues.
Yeah, it was Stop on there, yes.
Yeah, somebody said that was one of your favorite songs.
Get to
yes,
Prince.
their favorite.
Well, Get to Prince was in the finals, but I think that he got sick.
Okay.
The hospital had to make an operation.
I remember that, yes.
And Stop from Blues was not performed at the finals. But I think Woman Time, in terms of financially, it was a better song for me because it played all around the world and the Caribbean. And I think that's the only calypso I really got royalties for.
Okay.
So on a commercial level, I think Woman Time was my biggest song commercially. But Observer Song of Plastic, Climate Change, Internet Children, I think these are some of my biggest lyrically strong songs. Woman Time was okay, but I think it captures people's imagination and the whole woman vibes. And as a commercial venture, I think Woman Time was my biggest song.
How do you write?
Sasha P.
How do you?
Both come together.
How does it happen?
Both come together. I get a hook. I'm walking the road, and also because I'm into poetry and arts, I am deep. What people see as something superficial, I go deeper than that. So I'm walking, and what you might see, you might just see a guy pass, I see more than that. And as a result of that, I see much more than that. And I think because I have a way of words, I see what people actually don't see, and I'm able to coin things in all kinds of different ways. It's almost like it's a man that has that too. He sees things and he can coin it in different ways because for years we have been saying about people have preference or people have a pull string or whatever. Then you just come and coin that whole thing. I know people are good people. And right now that's the talk about I know people are good people. No, he was the first one to coin that. It was there all the time, but it took somebody to imagine and bring it together. I think that's my role as a writer. Things are there all the time, but I find a way to pull it together, which I never saw it like that. We always talk about climate change, yes, but true. How about putting climate change as the people and the attitude has also changed, and juxtapose that with the climate change. It takes an artist to do that. That's why I tell people you cannot teach somebody to write a song. You can teach them certain techniques to make them be better. You can teach them to play an instrument, but I think a songwriter is inspired. I really believe that.
Who are you working with this year?
Checker.
Okay.
I worked with Checker this year. I also worked with Triumph, about the road business and so on. Triumph has limitations, but I think I wrote a good song for him also, and Checker. Basically, so I work for a lot of the juniors this year.
Okay.
I constituted an SMA because I have some 7 participants, including the SMA guy who's saying It's Over. It's a very popular song on the radio station. It's Over, and all the guys. I also have 2 persons in the junior Mona competition.
Okay.
A girl and a young lady. A young lady I think from Wesley High School, and then the junior monarch of SMA. They are both representing the junior monarch competition.
Who would you like to work with that you haven't worked with as yet? And it does not...
Dice, I would like to work with Dice, but I think that, I'd like to work with Dice. I think also more than that, I would like to work with, I've worked with those persons already, but I want to say I'd like to have the opportunity to write their both songs. I've always worked with Tasha P. From a long time, from Woman Time to is a boy. First time she came and said she's a boy. I remember. Except this year I haven't worked with her. But she has never given me, for some reason, the opportunity to work on both songs. She always has somebody else doing her second song. I've never had the opportunity to write for her both songs.
Is it that
I think Observer made that mistake last year too. I think I could have written, I had his both songs written, but somehow he did not check me for his second song. And so I've never had a loyal calypsonian. Pat has a Dice who's loyal, no matter what. If Pat probably doesn't write, as has happened already, Dice doesn't sing. I've never had that sort of loyalty among my writers, my singers. So I think if I get a loyal singer of my songs who decide to sing, I think in 1 or 2 years we can be a formidable force. I've always been writing one there, Jack Red song, yes. But I never had an artist you can point to like Ping has Dice and he has Bob. They're always there every year. Both songs, I've never had that for very, very long time.
And you would love to have
I'd love to have that. So I'm not even saying I want to buy it for somebody else. I'd like to have a Tasha P. I'd like to have an Observer. I'd like to have someone and just write for them alone. So that we can work a formula. 1 or 2 years doesn't give me time to work a formula. One song doesn't give me time to work a formula.
That's right.
Because I think I can do it just as good as Patty on himself. But I think I have my accolades also like him. I just think what he has over me also is loyalty and I don't have that loyalty. Somehow he has been took it Calypso and to galvanize towards him, the book plays and so forth. And having his own mass camp, I think that's also a criteria also. So I never had that. But yes, I would like to get the opportunity to work with guys, the guys overseas who have been successful. Pat has also done the same thing. Also, but I respect, I must say, I want to put on record, I've done it in my writings, that I respect him as our number one, based on his Patty, when you have to respect his contribution to the art form. I think so. And person like myself and Tim Joan, so have made our contributions also probably come second to him, and also man himself. That's another guy I respected a lot in his writings and so on. But I think we need some loyalty.
Would you write for Lucas or Chris B again if you think they can get it together?
I spoke to Chris B during the playing on the pot, and he said taking a break. Chris B, I would write for Chris B again. I've approached him already. Lucas, I thought Lucas left a certain kind of way, but if you approach me again, I would write for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, man, I would write for
I'm
both
happy
of
to
them.
hear because you write good songs for them.
Yeah, man, I write good
songs for those guys.
And we work real good together. It's just that at certain times and so on. I'll write for both of them again.
You once served as president of the Dominican Calypso Association. I think I served under you as judges coordinator. That's when I came in. Yeah. So thank you for that opportunity. Ian, I think it was Ambrose Blanc who was doing it at the time, and then he passed it on to me. Long story. But what was that like for you when you served as president, and how do you see Calypso from the time that you were to now?
Well, a lot of things happened in Calypso. I think it was for the good that I came into Calypso, and Observer in a better position to say that. I've heard him say already, he told me already that he followed a lot of the things that I have brought into Calypso. I think when I came in, I want to say in brief that it became more structured. There's no doubt about it. When I came in as the president, Calypso became more structured. First of all, we did not have a permanent site where we had our building and so forth and so on. And we used to be on High Street, as you know, and the idea of signing off checks and Calypso getting the paid, and so this was a bit haphazard before. And so when I come in, I'd like to say greater structures was put in place and moves towards our building because the land was purchased during my time. It started was there. So I think in that respect, I made a positive contribution, and even payments too, and so on, and use of check stubs, and also I'm using vouchers and so on. Accountability, yes. I think that's the first time that was also published, or councils published, and the first time some major sponsors came on board, the Limes and the stuff so later. So I think my contribution over the past 3 years I served as president, I set a foundation, a new way forward. So I like to see what Narin and so is doing now. Narin as a specialized accountant and so on. Observer is also doing a good job, I find.
I think so.
Yes, he's transparent, open and so on, And they're a good team. Kelly is a good source of, because he has Calypso at his heart, he knows his background, what I mean? He's not a guy who likes to do too much with documents and papers, and he knows that. But basically, in terms of as a strong source, a reference source, you can go to on particular matters. He's there. So it's a fine team, and Bassi is always there. So it's good. I
Such
think
an easygoing fellow, Bassi.
Oh yeah, Bassi is just easygoing.
Just easygoing.
Yeah. He epitomizes his song.
Yes.
No stress.
Oh my goodness.
Sour. He's writing for sour.
Yes, Sour told me so Bassi who wrote it. Up to today, Sour came to see me again. So he's coming to see me. So Ian, what do you think of the art form now? Where do you think we can take it in terms of exporting? We see our bouillon being exported now with the conch shell and all of that, But what about Calypso?
Yes. Well, yes, Calypso, boy. I think, to be very frank, I think Calypso is going to be a staged event like Ballet and Quadrille and so on. I think it's on that way. And you can see from this year how the crowds has diminished today, and the crowds are not as it was before. And yes,
I heard the tents have not been so.
I mean, the first selection they had has taken out some of the steam, obviously, because the songs will be tailored differently than it was tailored last year. That's a factor also, because the election was in the air, so people were fired up. But apart from that, I have seen that there are signs, because the other countries have gone through that phase. It has not reached us yet. We are still last bastions of Calypso. And it would be really foolish as Dominicans people, as the Calypso Association, to think that it's going to remain so. At certain time, Calypso will become like Ballet and Quadrille will be a staged event. If we do certain things about it, in terms of our sponsorship, it's happened 2 decades that the price has been $20,000 for the Calypso finals. A Buyamana comes and sings one song at $15,000, he gets for $15,000. No pressure, Carly next to just sings. You can leave out lines if you wish. Now we look at on stage, no pressure, no quarterfinals, nothing to go through, you get $15,000. Are you going to tell a young man not to go into the Buyo and go to the Calypso? It does not make economic sense. And you go for so much pressure just to get $20,000 to pay a writer, you have to pay studio, you have to do all kind of stuff on $20,000 that has been stuck for 20 years. Not because the Calypso Association can afford more, because I was there. You can't necessarily afford more because the patrons are basically the same and they are dwindling. Sponsorship is needed to take it to the next level. I found it very, not of the best to go overseas and hear a 9-time monarch and a phenomenal performer like Dice, and no one in the Caribbean knows about Dice. That is true for Diana. You go to St. Lucia, you go to St. Vincent. I was in St. Vincent in July, because I told us where my father is from. I was there for the carnival, and I went to see family and friends. And there are persons who are involved in music in St. Vincent, hi-fi players and so forth. They have never heard the name of Dice, and they are in the music. So we have a marketing problem in Dominica. We never produce a short sort of solo like Antigua. We're not even talking about Trinidad. We haven't produced a Winston solo like St. Vincent.
But Ian, not to interrupt you, but there's the school of thought that we don't write for exporting calypsos.
None of the other countries have written. When Chopless and so write, they put blows on the politicians there, but the blows they put on the politicians there are also applicable to us here in Dominica. So when Tasha P sings treadmill can be sung anyway. You know what I mean? When you speak soul can be anywhere. You know what I'm saying? So that's not very true about what people are saying.
Okay.
Calypso has to represent what happens in your country first. As NCC, clean up your backyard first. But because what happens in your backyard is not unique to you alone, it transforms itself to the Caribbean. So all the songs that Chuck Dust and Sparrow and so forth sang, a lot of the songs they sang was applicable to Trinidad alone. But they took those songs and they marketed it, the radio stations and so played it, and we fell in love with it. We have not been able to do that for local calypsos for people to fall in love with it.
So climate change
is international. Climate change is international.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be sung in Dominica, it is international. You can sing it anywhere. If you take that song and you get it played, for instance, if this year whoever is crowned the king and the Calypso Association put some finances together and say, let's put aside $10,000 of marketing, and let's check the 3 other carnivals that have not existed in St. Vincent and St. Lucia, and try and get the king to perform at intermission time in St. Lucia, in St. Vincent, and have a couple of radio interviews. You'll be surprised how things can start. We have not done that, and that's what happened during my time. And that's what Hunter has been doing. That's why Hunter is the only known Caribbean Calypsonian in terms of Dominican known Calypsonian in the Caribbean.
Totally different perspective that you have.
Yes, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
And I think that is the approach. So apart from the Calypsonians doing what they have to do, I think also that the camp of Dice should honestly have done more to bring him to the next level.
Okay.
The whole camp of Dice, the camp mass camp, knowing that they have a treasure here, should have done more, or still can do more for Dice to bring him to the next level. But apart from that, the Calypso Association, who takes care of Calypso is general, can do more and make contacts with those relevant places through the airlines and so forth, and get Dice or get whoever is the next king across to 1 or 2 of those carnivals and move our Calypso to a different level. Let them know that Dominica also has something to offer. As Dice is the 15th-time king, and only persons from Soufriere to Portsmouth will know that.
Capuchin. Yes.
Would know that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I get you.
Yeah.
Ian, time is upon us.
For sure.
You also do, you play bass guitar.
Oh, yes.
You play steel pan.
Yes.
Tell us about those elements of your existence.
Well, yes. To say quickly, steel pan, we got the Edward Oliver Trophy, I think, a few years ago. I think 2015 for steel pan, and we have been there for 30 years non-stop. Something about me is that everything I've gotten into is always for a long haul. I've never done anything and stop. That's testimony to my dedication to things. Everything I've been involved in, I stayed for the long haul. Maybe that's why I'm married for a long time. So I want to get into something. Yeah, so Steel Pan has been a very, thanks to players like Pancho, Wilfred Baptist, who this year the Steel Pan is actually honoring the cultural division for his involvement in Pan. He was the one, and his brother Alan Baptist, who passed on 1 year before my father. They were the ones who actually brought me into Pan. I'm not so much of a panist, I can do a little stuff, but I'm more the bass guitarist for the Pan group, and I've taken over the leadership because of my ability to get things to happen.
Right. And
as a result of that, Phase 5 is going strong and be part of that stuff. We have done a number of work. We have done a number of albums too. I think we have done some 4 albums, and I've been featured in many places. We have been to Paris, Martinique, and Guadeloupe and playing Pan, and well appreciated. And our song is used by DBS and other teams to to run their ads and so on, and we really appreciate that. And I think that this time there's a resurgence in pan in Dominica, guys like Eddie Andre and Panalek and so, and Fantapan, Afimate, who always plays every Monday at the Fort Young. These are just snippets of what exists and what pan used to be. And like I said, my father started off with pan, when pan was really pan, and we really need to do something to bring it back, and so I'm happy to be also have been involved in pan and have introduced the electronics, because the bass pan, the 6-piece bass, takes up a lot of space. That's why you ask to play at weddings and so on, and they just want to put you in a little corner, a small side. So that's a small side. So 6 bass already is a big side.
Yes.
Perhaps to bring in the rest of your other musicians. So the bass guitar for many countries and many pan players have brought in the bass guitar as a substitute to the 6 bass, and that's why I play the bass guitar for the pan group. We have done original numbers, and also we have done covers for other songs and so on. So I trust that we'll go from strength to strength.
And the band continues to
Oh
be
yes,
available?
Bass is still available, and we'll be playing at the activity on the 11th.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Ian, I look at you, I don't see any grays. Are they hiding somewhere?
No, they are. I've taken a trim off recently, but there are some. But their wisdom hairs.
Their wisdom years, their wisdom years.
Yeah.
Ian, we have to wrap up on the program for tonight. It's a pity we didn't take any calls,
Yes.
but we did have so much to talk about, and I suspect
sure.
there is still more to talk about where Ian Jackson is concerned. What does the remaining time on Earth look like for Ian Jackson in terms of
Oh yes,
the
I'm glad you
future?
asked me that. My future is to serve my God. Trust me. In 2004, I made a very positive decision, and I got baptized. And
Really?
Yes, I am baptized. I still have problems with my church, and some people, not everybody in my church. All I do is write. I write and I compose. I think that's a cultural gift that I've been given by God. I don't write smart. I don't write foolishness, to bring down. I write from a cultural perspective, and some people may agree with it or not. But and I have maintained my writing, of course, until I get a call that I should not do it. But yes, I am very frank with it. And yes, but I'm a Christian, and I think I made a very good step in my life. And
what denomination?
CUC, Christian Union Church.
Okay.
That's in Roseau. That's so basically I try to live with my fellow men and try and live right. And approaching that time when retirement is calling. And of course, you have to try and live properly with your people and so, because God calls at any time, whether we have money, whether we have positions or whatever, and we have to try and live good with everybody, and that is my aim. Produce my books, and of course, I don't know much in life. I just ask God for the strength and some health. Of course, I have health challenges like most people have the health challenges, hypertensive and so on. But yet, apart from that, with my family and my life, I don't really desire much. I'm not a person that desire much. So I think I can live after retirement, God willing, how many years God give me. I can be comfortable, because I don't really desire wealth. I more desire, I think that after this life there's something else. So basically I am now heading to that something else. It's like I tell my students, I'm closer to the grave than to the cradle, and I'm aware. So basically, that's not the time to start forming the food. I've got to hold on. I want to thank my church, my pastor, and everybody else, and I just want to thank God for the talent He has blessed me with. I could not leave the program without saying that, and for Him sustaining me throughout these times. I want to say hello to my brothers in the States and whoever have been listening to my voice, and thank you for Diana for having me in the program. And thank you to my colleagues at SMA, those of you who have listened to the program, and all those who wanted to call in and so forth. I want to thank you, because without you, I would be nothing. My work actually has been exuding in you, appreciating what I do, and I'm thankful for that. And look out for my book. It will give a snippet about my life on an artistic point of view, and a review of Dominica's arts. Yeah.
Quick question before we wrap up totally. Will we see more of Johnny in the future in the Calypso arena?
Well, it's possible, but as of right now, she really likes singing, and as she's in Jamaica, she still sings. She's still at certain cabarets, certain areas that they have invited to sing, and she still does her singing. And recently, she had a wonderful performance in our church. She brought tears to people's eyes. She really is a talent, a God-given talent. I want to thank God for her. Whatever decision she takes in her life, if she wants to go gospel soca, if she wants to just go gospel alone, we don't know what's her plan. We don't know what's the future, but whatever that plan is, I just want to encourage her, and I'll be there to support her.
Okay. Your final comments for us, Shako?
Yeah, but basically,
generally,
I just trust that everything goes well for this season for our Calypsonians and everybody else, and peace. peace, you know, and hope you are spared from any coronavirus or anything like that in the air and so on. We really can't take that in Dominica or anywhere in the world, as a matter of fact. And we just ask for God to spare us. I also ask people, because that's very fresh in my mind, because before I came here early on this afternoon, I talked to the guy about his soul and his life and everything. And some people just get up in the morning and they just go about their business. Take some time off for God. And that's my message to people. Take some time off, because you never know the time or the hour.